Hello? Can you hear me, Skoit?
Hello.
What's good? How you doing, Skoito?
Doing great. How about you?
Oh, I'm doing so awesome. Thank you so much, by the way, being so flexible and not just like waiting patiently, but also just for joining us on our first podcast. You get to be our very first guest, Skoit. This is
Yeah.
I know it may sound like a big deal for me, but I'm excited because this is gonna be a big deal. I feel for just furry FPS in general. And I
hmm
am so grateful that you took the time to join us today.
Well, of course. I was there for the first stream, and I'm here for the first ever podcast.
Hell yeah, dude. Well, let's go ahead and actually get this started properly. Um, a lot of you guys may or may not have ever seen Squint and I playing together. We play quite a bit, actually.
Oh yeah.
But I want to give Scoit a proper introduction. Let me also make sure I got Scoit's volume turned up. How's Scoit sound for you guys? Can you say something, Scoit?
Hello, hello.
All right, there we go. Sound better? I think you sound pretty good on my end, but let me make sure
All
that
right.
you are good to chat. Um, that's better. Awesome, 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 awesome. Um, so let's go ahead and start things off with a former introduction. I'm gonna have you introduce yourself first, Scoit, and then I'll introduce myself afterwards. So go ahead and introduce yourself.
All right. I am Skoit. I am an FPS doggo who's been playing for over a decade, for well over a decade. I'd say like probably into FPS games for about 15, almost 20 years now. And I stream occasionally. I'm getting back on that after I'm starting to feel better, thankfully. But yeah, honestly, that's all there is to it. I just like playing FPS. That's all I like. I have a big passion for it, and yeah,
I keep on forgetting that you are recovering from your sickness, but you sound really really good right now, Scoy.
yeah. Oh, you should have heard me 2 days ago.
Oh yeah, was it a lot
It
worse?
was bad. It was bad. I was like, oh, ugh.
Oh, I'm so sorry you're still recovering. I hope you're feeling a lot better now, though.
Oh yeah, feeling a lot better now.
Thank you so much for introducing yourself, and I think it's gonna be very fun because so many of you guys who have watched the stream for a while, and for some of y'all who already follow Skoit on their Twitch channel, um, you guys get to get more of a scope into who and how insanely cracked Skoit actually is. So, so thank you again for introducing yourself properly. I don't feel like we've ever done this before.
No, we
I feel
haven't.
like we've just kind of jumped on, whatever game session, just kind of start doing our
Yeah, just
thing, and it's
vibe.
just like a vibe,
Yeah, yeah, exactly. But yeah, that's how I usually do things. I'm just here to play.
um, well, that being said, I'm gonna properly introduce myself, for those in chat, and also for the podcast, because this is gonna be getting shared across other platforms. So
Yeah.
my name is doryuuZ, also known as doryuuZ. Um, I am a FPS streamer and full time content creator. Been deep in it now for full time 6 years or so. Yeah, about almost six and a half. And I've just always been a huge FPS nerd ever since I was very very young. And to be doing this now full time, I have been very very excited to share my passion. Both through Twitch and other platforms, and now with this new branch of content that we're doing with the podcast. I'm very, very excited to be able to not just share my passion in FPS, but to now shed a spotlight on any of the guests that we have on the show. So I hope you guys all enjoy your time here. And yeah, again, let's go ahead and kick things off and start getting to know Squid a little bit more. Um,
Yes, sir.
so I'm actually going to ask you a bunch of questions, Squid. Um,
hmm
I've been spending quite some time this entire week just brainstorming, jotting down a bunch of fun questions. Hopefully none too intimidating. Um,
Ah, no worries.
I don't
No worries.
know if you've ever done a podcast before, but if this is the first, I hope it doesn't scare you away.
Nah, I'm not scared. I'm talking to my bestie. We're chilling.
I'm also gonna be like reading chat pretty frequently too, in between like questions and all that stuff, because I don't want to let you guys be forgotten, chat. You guys are also of the utmost important guests here on the show. But if you guys are curious, what is playing in the background, I do have a compilation of Skoit clips that we threw together, just to kind of give a little bit more visual representation of just how insanely cracked Skoit is. One thing I will at least say before I give the microphone to Skoit is I don't think the furry community, streaming community, or just furry community at large really gives quite the recognition in the FPS space that I feel is deserved. I've always viewed FPS in a way of, there is definitely a beauty in art in PvP style games, and I do definitely feel that a lot of other game genres get quite a bit of recognition and spotlight. FPS for some reason seems to be lacking, and not only is it lacking, but I have truly felt that there is a severe lack of acknowledgement in the amount of talent that is booming from the FPS scene in furry. And I'm just really excited to be able to do something like this with you guys and with any of the guests we have on the show, so that way we can celebrate, give some sort of area to those that spend and dedicate their lives or time into perfecting their craft and being good at what they do. But with that being said, I'm gonna go ahead and hand the microphone over to Skoit now. So, Skoit, why don't we start the podcast off with my first, and I feel like it's a nice little icebreaker question, which is,
Yeah.
when did you start playing FPS? Like, tell us about your journey from the beginning to the present.
Oh man, it's been a long fucking journey, but I've been playing ever since I'd say Halo 1 days. I very much started on Halo 1 when I was
Halo
very
1,
young. Yep,
yes.
OG Halo 1. It didn't stick as hard with me until I kind of made it to COD 4. That's when I kind of like really honed in. I was like, oh, yeah, this is what I want to do. I want to play. This is all I want to play. I just want to play shooters. That's all I care about.
Yeah.
But I started off just honestly going over to my cousin's place, playing Halo 1, and making them very mad at me because I was extremely competitive. Even though I was a young little boy, I was still kicking my teenage cousins' asses.
Were you a
Uh,
natural when you first
oh
picked it
yeah.
up? Like, were you just
Oh
already like things just clicked or whatever?
yeah. I don't know why. It's like that was kind of just my thing. Was just shooting at stuff in video games. That's just kind of what clicked with me. I picked it up really fast. I learned how to do things, and like I don't know, and I made so many people mad. I made my cousins so mad. Occasionally, they would slap the controller out of my hands.
Oh my gosh. Oh, not the physical
Yeah,
rage.
I got physical rage, and honestly, it's just funny now to me. Honestly, looking back on it, it's hilarious.
That's actually
But
really cool to hear that it started with Halo with you, because I
yep,
I think if there's one thing I've noticed with everyone who is at some point of their, I'd honestly say probably in the earlier stages of FPS gaming, I feel
mm,
like a lot of gamers are under this assumption that, or this idea that, if you are on MNK when they first discover you, they think you
yeah,
were like always on MNK.
oh yeah,
And it's very clear that you started not on MNK. You started on
no,
console.
dude, yeah, I started on console so long ago, and I was on console for a while too. Like,
Yeah.
I think the last Call of Duty I played on console was Ghost.
Wow, Ghost. That was, how long ago was that now? Like 9 years
That was
ago?
long. It doesn't
Eight,
feel
nine
long, but
years
it's
ago.
long. It
Oh my
is
gosh.
so long ago. I'm like, wow. Have I really been off console for that long? It doesn't. It feel Ghost feels like 5 years ago.
I'm kind of having flashbacks because, like, I don't recall if this is when you and I had met yet. Because
Oh,
I think I met you through, I swear I met you through Whiskey.
Yes,
when
you did.
it came to Overwatch, but I don't know if there was maybe even a slight crossover because I did play Ghost for a little bit on
Yeah, I think
console.
there was a very small portion we have played Ghost like a long time ago. Like I have a very vivid memory of that game, and I think we played for a very small period of time. Because in Ghost, one of my achievements in Ghost when I was getting really competitive with COD
Yeah,
was I
yeah.
made it to a 100 win streak plus in that game.
100 win
Yeah,
streak
100 win streak. That was my goal when I started the game. I didn't lose,
in
and
fucking sane. That is crazy.
yep, I made it to 100 wins, and oh, that was hard. There was some sweating in the casual lobbies for me in those days, but
Dang. I mean, casual lobbies were also just a different experience too than
oh
they are
yeah, that was
now.
before SBMM.
Yeah. Oh man, the good old days of no SBMM, or as some also say, maybe it was like very very light, not as heavily tuned SBMM. I
Yeah, exactly. It was very
miss
slight.
it. Miss it so
Yeah,
freaking much.
it's like they protected the noobs, which is like that's fine. I get it. People who first join the game should be get a good experience, not get dunked on.
Yeah.
But you know, but yeah,
Yeah.
that was my last game I played on there, and I played competitively at the start of Modern Warfare 2.
Wow, Modern Warfare 2? Was that your branch into, I guess that kind of like ties in even to like one of my other questions is
Mhm,
I mean you're touching on it right now.
mhm.
The whole competitive, route, right? Like
Yep, that
so
was
Modern Warfare 2 is where it kind of started?
yep, did game battles. You'd like go on a
Dang, game
website, you'd set it all
battles.
up, yep, and I loved it. I definitely touched up on my competitive side because, ironically, I started off as like a very hardcore like basketball player. I played basketball all the time,
Oh, you were a
and
basketball player?
yeah, massive
No way.
basketball
That's
player.
crazy. I hearing these things, I'm excited because this podcast is going to be probably the most kind of casually, but also not focused around shooting things while we're chatting
Hmm.
that we've done in a while. And I feel like that you're gonna mention some things that like are gonna either ring a bell or that I'm gonna be like, what? I've never known that. And we've known each other for so long.
Yeah, we have. It's nice. I enjoy it. So I'm looking forward to talking about it more.
Oh man, I love while hearing you talk about, your stories and whatnot. And just kind of
Hmm.
looking over and reading chat. Um
Hmm.
it's exciting to do a podcast like this because I feel, I don't know how much you listen to or watch podcasts yourself, but
Yeah.
traditionally they're not really known to be broadcasted on Twitch and then have like a live chat and all that kind of stuff. And I feel what's fun about this one is that like we get to have a lot of like friends and maybe if not friends, mutuals and those that we haven't met in person yet, just all kind of like commenting on either your gameplay in the background or the things we're talking
Hmm.
about, or like for example Exil being like, I forgot he's tall, so it makes sense. So it's like
Extol.
I did forget you're pretty tall.
I'm very
You
tall.
are very freaking tall.
Yeah, I'm 6'2". That's kind of where the basketball thing came from. I was like, yeah, I'm tall. I guess I'm playing basketball.
I love the irony in it because everyone here on the channel has always known you as like the bread boy
The
or
bread,
the
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 tiny little bread.
small the small bread,
Yeah, I'm
and
breaking immersion.
you're literally the opposite of
Yeah.
that.
Hey, listen, it's fun. It's fun to pretend to be small sometimes. Okay, I've been tall all my life.
This is true. I mean, it's
Yeah.
also, isn't that the whole like thing of being in the fandom is like our characters are either opposite representations of like how we are IRL, you know?
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly. It's like it's kind of like you get to like try out all the things that you've always wanted to like experience. You can
Yeah.
kind of like create that with your Sono. But
Skoit
yeah,
Skoit is
I
the same height as Tib. Wow. Okay.
whoa.
You're the same height as Tibbs. I always have to look back at Donk. I forget how tall exactly is Donk again, because I think you guys would be kind
Oh my god, is
of.
Azel taller than me?
Oh, I think Azel's probably just a smidge short. Yeah, I was about to say 6'1" or 6'2". You guys are like
Six
very
one, six
close.
two. Very close, very close.
So
But yeah,
oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead. Go ahead.
no, I was just gonna continue on, but go ahead.
No, what the other thing I was gonna comment on, because I know you're talking about game battles and I didn't want to derail you from that because that's a very very fun subject I want to actually touch on
Oh
more.
yeah.
Um, Josie said something in chat like discussing controller player. I know
Yeah.
I know that we joke about this a lot, and I just want to put a pin in this for now so that way we can return to it. But um, I've always felt that every time we're gaming and we're like, oh, controller looting, or like, I'm you're one of your Apex clips is playing right now, so it's just like the irony and in the controller player thing. I don't
Yeah.
think some people realize when if they're like newer to the channel or they've like never heard how our like game banter is and stuff. I don't
Mhm.
think some of them or realize that like we're hating or joking about controller players because we once upon a time were a controller player too,
Yeah, that was us.
and we get it. We know what it's all about.
Yeah. I can't like actually hate on my roots.
Yeah. No. At heart, we're
Eh,
always a little dirty roller player.
yeah, exactly. Somewhere in there, there's still a little bit of a roller player inside each of us. But yeah,
um. Yeah. Go ahead. Go ahead.
yeah, that was the game battles went until Ghost, and that's when I kind of calmed down, and I'm like, that's kind of when I started to side eye Counter Strike.
Mm.
So like
Dang, the Counter
going
Strike
from Ghost
beginnings.
into Counter Strike. Yeah. Do you uh do you remember what was your? I think you told me before. What was your first game you kind of like started to actually like play taking seriously?
Oh, that I start taking it seriously.
Hmm.
I would say it's probably Halo 2. Halo 2 is
Halo
definitely the one that
2.
started it.
Ah,
Um, and I mean, like, I know this is, I don't want to like talk too much about myself because like I want others to know how cracked and talented you are, but I'll condense my story and that's the pivotal or the canon event in my
mhm,
FPS I don't know, I guess you say career or life was I was at a family party. I can't remember if it was Christmas or not, but like it was a very big gathering and my cousin had or one of my cousin's family friends had brought their Xbox over and imagine this like very big family party going on and the one big screen TV in the living room is being occupied by a connected Xbox with Halo running on it.
oh
And
my
I had
god.
been playing Halo so much, right? But like I was playing story mode, never really multiplayer.
Hmm.
And they were like, "Oh, want to do some like 1v1s or whatever." And I had no idea. I'm like, "Oh, what? I get to play against another player?" Um
Sick.
and I start fighting him and for the first time in my life, I went against someone who was utilizing grenade bounces. They were
Oh my
bouncing them off of walls in ways that I never comprehended or never experienced. And I will never
god.
forget getting absolutely demolished by them. And I wasn't even angry. I just remember being like, what is that? What? You can do that,
Oh my god.
So that was the canon event for me. And then Halo 2, is where it took off. So.
Yeah, that's actually that brings up another point. Ironically, I think for us, like very competitive people, I also was kind of someone who's in the same boat because like a lot of my friends and a lot of like the kids who are like younger than me, they would get really upset, when they lost or like they would start throwing a fit or they'd cry. But for me, when I got my butt whooped, I'd be like, oh, like I'm gonna like try to take what I could learn from that experience,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
oh wow, that was actually really what they did here was really smart, and I took that into basketball actually first because I was the youngest of five, and they all played basketball. They all had the neighbors come over. Everyone was older than me. I was kind of like the last picked. I
Mm,
was very much like absolutely dunked on. They didn't take it easy on me, but I was never upset. I kept going back at it
yeah.
every day. I'd come back out again. I would learn a little more each time, and I think that kind of attests to why I can learn things so much faster. Is because at first when I'm first getting into a game, I'm more absorbing. Everyone who's better than me,
I
and
love your perspective. That
yeah.
is actually so inspirational. And coincidentally, I'm very, very happy to hear you say that because I actually was just talking about this yesterday with Azel about how there is this like very, very huge difference in some people's mentals. sometimes life experiences lead us up to be the way that we are, and how, like, for
Mhm.
example, you adapted, right?
Yeah.
Some others don't have that encouragement built in them because they've either A, never had that like event or moment that like helped them get to that
Mhm.
point, and so they need others to kind of push them there, right? Or some
Yeah.
others are like how you are, where they take sort of these what would be a humiliating moments and take it as a way of being like, I want to not be the last picked on the team. Or like, man,
Mhm.
I'm kind of tired of losing. What do I need to do to win more? You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
that fire is different for everyone. And I think it's really cool to hear you express that from both your heart and also from your personal experience, because that's actually like a very very big thing I want to touch on, which you're already kind of like getting into. So
Mhm.
honestly, like I'd love for you to elaborate on it more, like to I guess like share kind of your trials and tribulations with like how you kind of got there, like whether you want to go deep with it or you just want to touch on it a little bit, like what do you think helps you with like channeling that, how do you handle defeat and that motivation?
I think that being the underdog is a great power. Um, that that really gives me a lot of motivation and also like willpower to exceed expectations as far as I can.
Yeah, yeah,
So as I very much love being the underdog. It I don't know, it just gives me a power. Like I do better.
yeah,
I feel more like empowered
yeah.
and that's kind of where it comes from. And I think
Mm,
that's kind of like where my upbringing kind of the upbringing and like the mentality I have during my upbringing was kind of like sourced from.
yeah.
And nothing ever really stopped me from like, trying my best because when I first got into Counter Strike, I honestly all my computers was like self-sourced. So I bought my own computer, I built my own computer, I paid for everything. Nothing was ever really like given to me in that
Really?
regard. Yeah.
Dude,
So I
that's
started off with a
awesome. I mean, like, not
yeah.
awesome in that like you had to, work your butt off to like get that thing. I think it's awesome in that like you worked your butt off to get that thing. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Like
Mhm.
it shows that you weren't really handed and you just had to like grind to
Yeah.
get it. That's really
I
really admirable.
I grinded as hard as I could to get like where I wanted to be and like competing where I wanted to compete. Because I started off with a computer.
Yeah.
The very first computer I ever had was like 40 FPS
Mm.
on source.
Damn,
And
40 FPS. Oh
yeah,
my
it was
god.
bad. It was bad. But I loved playing source. And then I got into CS:GO as soon as possible.
mm,
And that was the first game I really took seriously on PC,
mm,
despite not having really a mouse pad or a good computer that could really run it very well. And I kept playing, I
man.
kept working as well, and saved up every penny I had for better parts, and eventually was able to actually play on like a decent PC, which is when I really turned that into, you know, being able to play for teams and scrimming and playing
Wow.
ranked. I got to global on 60 FPS on 60 hertz.
Oh my god, that's dude, I love hearing you talk about like your frame limitation and like your peripherals,
Mm,
cuz like it's a testament to what I've like preached quite a bit, and also from both of our own experiences, is that your limitation of hardware, yeah, it can definitely halter or stop you from progressing in certain ways, but it
mm,
doesn't necessarily hold you back on achieving these
yeah,
things. Like, look at what you're able to achieve with like 40 FPS and
yeah,
all those other hardware limitations.
dude, it was tough, but like it honed in, and I think this is also kind of where what attests to more of how my play style is to this day.
Yeah.
I had to play smart. I
Mm,
couldn't rely on my computer being like super fast, seeing the opponent as fast as possible.
yeah.
I had to really hone in on, where I positioned myself,
Yeah.
how I used utility,
Mm,
how like cuz like even if your computer or you're limited by something in your life, you can always find another way to be as useful as possible.
yeah. Very,
And
very
you
well
can be
said.
useful. Yeah, like I learned how to flash from my teammates who did have good computers. Ironically, that's when I met the Swede crew. Like you remember Pinks?
I do, yeah,
I
yeah.
met him over a decade ago with a bunch of other Swedish people. Uni, Uni. He was
Yeah.
also
Oh, wait,
someone I met
really?
over
That's
a
how you met
decade ago.
Uni
Yeah,
too?
yeah. He kind of taught me a good bit about Counter Strike when I first met him.
Dang. You know
Yep,
what I'm
and
hearing
Uni.
right now is I'm just like hearing that like Swedish furries are just insanely cracked at FPS or
Yeah,
games.
they are. They really
Because
are.
you just mentioned Uni, Pinks, Josie, and I mean
Hmm.
I'm pretty sure the list goes on, but I'm sorry,
Oh,
don't
it goes on.
you can
Sweden
continue.
played is insane. Dude, honestly, low key, Swedes had the most dominating performance on Counter Strike for years. I think it was Ninjas in Pajamas who had what, like a 50 event streak or some crap, and they're a
50
full
event
Swedish team.
streak.
I'm trying to remember the
What?
exact numbers. I don't remember how many they won in a row, but it was
Wow.
insane. I'm sure someone in chat will know the infamous streak of Ninjas in Pajamas in Counter Strike, but oh my god,
That's
they're
crazy.
unstoppable.
Yeah, I'm gonna actually raise this question in chat, and also, because I've been, again, while you're like saying all these things, I'm like reading chat and trying not to miss messages. But I'm curious, so like, who here does play Counter Strike or did play Counter Strike? Also, hello, all the new folks tuning in to the podcast. We just kind of got started not too long ago. Still at the beginning, and just kind of delving into the middle of Skoit, just kind of talking about their background and what they started with competitive gaming and such. So, thank you
Mhm.
guys all so much for being here. Thank you, everyone. You also have chat
Yeah,
open to Skoit or no?
yeah, I do actually. I'm
Oh, see,
looking
oh,
at it
so
right
you're
now.
seeing it too. So
I was getting lost in the sauce a bit, so I forgot to look up the
no, no,
chat.
no, no. You're fine. No, this is what I want. This is a learning experience for myself, more importantly,
Mhm.
and it's kind of trying to find that like sweet balance between, you like needing you and wanting you to tell us more, about like your story, your come up, and then also not let chat be forgotten either. But
Of
um,
course.
so yeah, but thanks again for being understanding and flexible with it. It's
Yeah, of
well,
course.
I wanted you to have you first because not only are we longtime friends, but
Yeah.
um, you get it. So
Yeah, of course. I find it as a good opportunity because I'm kind of closed. Like I don't really talk about myself like too much. I
Mm,
haven't really talked to myself to you about myself too much. I don't really talk about like the people who have joined my chat about me too much. And I feel like there's a good opportunity to
yeah,
kind of like break that barrier and be like, yeah, this is kind of like where I come from.
everything you
Uh,
just said is exactly why I'm happy to be doing this. Like
yeah.
I think it's cool both from like a personal level, but also just like I said at the beginning of the podcast, like we gotta shed some light on the FPS gamers. Like there's nowhere if you look through like furry YouTube, if you look through furry TikTok, furry YouTube Shorts, Twitter, tell me
Mhm.
where you find a hub or source of FPS
Yeah,
furries.
that's
There's
super
none.
true. It's so sad because like I feel like we really could be more unified and
Yeah.
like we could make more friends. Like it's good for everyone because that means that more crack furries can fight other crack furries, and I think it's really smart. And I appreciate you doing it because I'm definitely very interested in seeing where you go with it,
Yeah, thank you.
and I think it's actually a really great idea.
It's the first hopefully of many. And
Yeah.
I've been talking a lot like off stream with Azel and my other roomie who is very involved with like this whole thing. They're just like, play your cards right. I'm trying to do what I can to play my cards right, but it's also like a very, very community effort thing too, right? And
Hmm.
um, it's definitely what adds to the fun in it, and that's yeah, like your contributions as well as every other guest, as well as chat's involvement. It's all involved, and yeah, I'm just hoping that this will continue. This also won't
Yeah.
be the first time I'm gonna have you on here, by the way. Once
Hey, I'm
things get more, like built up and we get like a better flow for this as a routine, dude, you bet your butt we're gonna have you back on here again, like
yeah.
guaranteed.
Anytime. Anytime. I'll be happy to do it.
I know you were still kind of going a little bit more into the Counter Strike and competitive like side of things. Um,
Yeah.
I don't want to cut you off on talking about it more, but I do want to, you know, revisit it if we can. I actually want to ask one of the first questions. I'm doing a system where I'm going to let chat kind of ask you
Yeah.
a question, and we're going to try to answer as many of them as we can throughout the stream, or all of them if possible. So I'm going to toss you one question from Bobo. Bobo XXL is
Hmm.
asking, who or what drives your passion to improve every day?
Passion to improve. Oh, that's a good question. Um, who or what drives? Honestly, it is a lot of the friends around me. A lot of the cracked gamers like yourself, and
Oh,
it just seeing you all thrive, and it just makes me want to keep up the best of my ability. And I also do it for myself. Um, I very much like. I always feel like I have something to prove, and I'll forever kind of feel that. That's kind of like the fire inside me that never goes away. Is the fact that I always feel like I have something that, in every game that I pick up,
yeah.
that is has a competitive side, that I do have something to prove. I want to prove that I can hang with the best, and just do the best I can at all times. And that's honestly it, really. I have such a burning like passion and competitiveness inside of me that you know I'm I'm never happy unless I'm kind of like performing to where I think I should be.
That's really, really sweet. I know it's easy to get a little overwhelmed or flustered when asking such a like deep question, and you feel like there's like
Mhm.
more you want to say, right? At least
Yeah,
from me, from my perspective,
yeah.
like
Oh, I
all,
get
all
that.
I catch from you is that like, no, you have more, but you're just like, yeah, that is
Yeah,
what it is. And
that's what it is. What it
all I
is.
want to
Yeah.
say is that like, it's felt back at you, right?
Hmm.
Like I myself have been so inspired off of you, and I think
Hmm.
it kind of ties everything together that we were just talking about with like, your motivation is that you want to be able to hang with others, and you want to, still be able to show that you can hang with the best. And the
Hmm.
reality is that in competitive, or like not even competitive, but like in a PvP style genre, that's all we want, you know?
Yeah.
And
Exactly.
I think the way that you express it, it shows to me you have like a lot of love and care about it. Like you have a lot of heart behind it, and it's what
Oh yeah.
shines, you know? It's definitely what is admirable, both as someone who genuinely always enjoys playing with you, but also I'd imagine for others you've played with and others who like watch your clips and just like, oh my god, like Skoit is so cracked, or like, you're just dominating a COD lobby. Like, how does Skoit do it? That is insane, you know? Um it's really, really sweet though to hear it from you.
Yeah.
And very cool.
And oh my god, I gotta glaze a little bit because I want to get into I want to talk about when I first met you, because I have a very vivid memory. I don't know if you have a as much of a vivid memory, but I have a very vivid memory of when I first met you.
Oh yeah?
Like ever, like ever since like Overwatch.
Mhm.
I have such a vivid memory. I remember the map we were on when we first played.
Oh no, I don't even remember the map. Oh, I'm
Yeah, I
excited
remember.
to hear this.
Dude, we were playing like you were Genji. I remember because like it was the first time I met you. It was Whiskey or Dusty that brought you in,
Yeah,
because it was
yeah.
like, oh, like Doors like wants some more like people to play with on Overwatch. It's like he's around like Diamond. And I was like, okay, all right. Well, I remembered you from like the dance videos like a long time ago.
No
I
way.
was I got a little nervous. I was like, wait a minute. But yeah, it was. I remember that very well. And dude, the amount you have improved since those days is wild. It's insane.
Oh,
Like
dude, that means a lot coming
you
from you. That
you've
means so much.
come so far from those days. Like I think you would easily like hang with GMs in those. If you could go back from this point and you're
Mhm.
all the way back, then you could definitely hang with like the high GMs in that game.
Oh, dude, that
And
that means so
and
much coming from you.
yeah, and the fucking PUBG days too. Oh, PUBG was so fun.
I I I thank you, and I really, really
Mhm.
appreciate it. Like I'm smiling cheek to cheek right now, and it's actually very, very endearing to hear, because
Mm.
just last night when I was editing, your clips together and whatnot, um, Azel interrupted me, to tell me a very important thing, and having the ADHD brain that I have, I got distracted. Big surprise. And what that
Mm.
thing was is that Twitch is going to be, I think like April 19th or something like that. They're going to be clearing a bunch of VODs or highlights, I mean,
Oh man.
that
Oh
aren't
no.
saved or backed up. And so I was like, oh, let me actually see what I have dating back to. And guess what I came across? Our old
Uh
freaking scrim videos from Apex.
oh.
And I watched two of them. And Skoy, I will tell you this much. Like, I'm going to be just very transparent, flat out, right? I was
Mhm.
hot dog shit. So fucking
I
bad.
think we
Like,
all were. We all were
I was
clueless.
so bad. I think the problem too, yeah, it was a mixture of things though. Like, I was just paying
Yeah.
attention to my individual performance compared to like you and Baron, and I'm just like, man, like look at this team. Like we had such great aspirations. I think the beauty of it
Mhm.
was that like we're like happy to be on this org together. We're happy to be playing competitively. But there's also this
Yep.
big sense of like, wow, we're like building synergy right now. We're like learning competitive in a BR space. And like, it was very jarring. And it
Mhm.
definitely showed a lot of errors on my end. I'm just like, wow, I'm like bubbling horribly. I'm like fucking whiffing, and I'm just like, dude, I played so bad. But like,
Dude,
here you and Baron are just like absolutely, holding your own.
dude, also the to be fair, Apex was like clueless. Like every the Apex competitive scene, there was not a lot to go on back then.
Yeah, yeah.
It was all kind of like a bunch of venturing into unknowns because like we were all like a lot of the team like I don't know if you remember like despite like how we all were playing then
Mm.
our first few scrims we actually were winning.
Yeah, that's what I watched. I
We
watched
were winning.
the two first places that we got. It was actually, I don't know if you remember this particular day, but it
Mm,
was one of the scrim days where, oh god, I can't remember. I think we had like a bad performance the day before, something like that. But this one in
yeah.
particular was like we won like three first places or something. It was
Yeah.
like the one where we were in the encampment base area or whatever. It was on World's Edge, and then the other
Yeah.
win was it was right below Dildo.
Mm,
And then the other one, it was like that choke point or whatever. And then the other one was where we won at Lava, and we were holding like the back corner, and yeah, we just won those three games in scrims, and we had like all these goated gamers who are still in Apex. Like they're,
yeah.
I think when I was watching the kill feed, I was watching some Apexers who are like well known in the scene, who don't play
Mhm.
anymore, and then I was watching like Six was in there. We had like, current like LG like players and just all that
Yeah.
stuff. It's like, yeah, dude, it's a very different time. You know?
Dude, you know what's so sad is we forever lost the clip of Shroud glazing us.
Oh my god, I'm
Ah.
so sad we never downloaded that. They glazed. I honestly, I
Ah.
think that fight, I kid you not, I think that was you and Baron fucking just
Yeah,
dominating. I
because I
remember I
was
was
1
lagging
HP.
behind hardcore, and you guys were fucking dominating.
Because I was 1 HP, and then we got pushed by FaZe. I remember very
Yeah,
specifically. We got pushed by FaZe, and I got all 3 wingman shots, 2 headshots and a body shot on, I don't know who the FaZe player for Pathy was at the time, but he jumped us because we were low. And
yeah,
I hit
yeah.
every single bullet. I was 1 HP, he missed his PK shot, I hit 3 wingman shots. I was like, "Oh, fuck. Ugh, Shaman is spectating me. Oh, I wish we have that clip, man. I really do. That fucking
I
pissed me
wonder if
off."
somewhere in the deep archives of the internet, there's that Shroud 24/7 channel that's going.
Mhm.
I wonder if it's ever gonna get to his Apex VODs, and
I
then
hope so.
there'll be that moment where our squad just pulls up on that.
Yeah, and dude, we were definitely not playing pushovers because I remember very specifically one of the games we won in Lava. I think that was one you're talking about.
Yeah, yeah.
We actually beat C9 for the C9 players for the win.
Yeah, you're right, dude. I'm trying to remember what the old roster was. The rosters have changed so much, but like
Oh yeah,
it's very, very vivid and like that time too. And I'm still even blinking. But
yeah. I'm blanking on the rosters as well because like some C9 players are on like LG or like it's just it's confusing. But
yeah, it's
yeah,
crazy, dude.
that was crazy. We had that was such a Those are crazy scrims.
That actually brings me to my next question. I'm gonna read the second question that chat asked you afterwards. But
Yeah,
before
of
I do
course.
do that, I'm just gonna take a brief moment to thank the resubs. Thank you so much, Toru. Thank you so much for the 41 months. Arrow, thank you so much for the 45 months. You guys are all good. I love and appreciate y'all, and everyone in chat. Thank you guys so much for your involvement and hanging out with us. So thank you, everyone. Thank you guys. Um, let's see. So the next question I want to ask you is what was the first game that you ever played ranked in? Like what was the highest rank in that game?
Highest rank in the first game I ever played in.
Yeah, yeah.
I think technically that would be Black Ops 2 on the sticks.
Oh, on
I
the
got to the
6 dude,
highest rank.
damn.
Yep.
Hell yeah.
Yeah, Black Ops 2, highest rank ever. I think you got the highest like you can be on Black Ops 2 ranked.
Yeah.
Um, and then after that, I think on PCs, I'll do roller and PC. Global very easily.
Damn, dude. That's insane. I can't believe you jumped so god effortlessly
Mm,
from console to M&K. Like and then
yeah.
you just hit global. Like that to me is so inspirational. Like yeah, I'm actually really excited because that does tie into one of the other questions I was going to delve into during this podcast. But hearing you say that is really really cool because I know there's probably quite a few controller players in chat.
Mm.
I'm looking at you, Josie, and they're currently learning M&K, and you know the transition's very doable, right? Like it's all kind of like at least from my takeaway from the way you've been describing your journey from M&K or from controller to M&K, and then like what you've achieved in between, like it's doable as long as you got the fire, right? If you got the
Mhm.
perspective and the the right mindset, I just feel like anything's achievable, which you've been definitely expressing a lot.
Oh yeah, anything's
Um,
achievable.
that being said, so this is actually my next question then is what is what would you say were some things that helped you with the transition to M&K gaming? And I actually really
M&K.
like this question because I think that as many are trying to learn a different peripheral, or are
Mhm.
doing that exact transition. I always think it's very informative to others to be able to hear from like insane players like what helped them. Because I feel like it's like a secret sauce that a lot of gamers don't quite talk about all the time.
Mhm.
But when it's touched on, it's like, well, this is the opportunity here.
Yep. Well, honestly, it's kind of it's not that interesting on my perspective because I just did community maps all the time.
Really,
Community
community
maps
maps.
24/7. Yep.
Wow.
CS:GO community maps were the ish. CS Source and CS:GO. There's a lot of really good AIM community maps.
Hmm.
Then they added the workshop and stuff, and then like workshop had so many good AIM maps, and that really helps transition with the AIM. You kind of build in your own aim assist in your brain,
Yeah.
where like you don't need it anymore, and it all becomes a muscle reflex, and you just kind of drill that. You just keep drilling that aim on like on whatever like aim trainer is your favorite, and also keeping a consistent sensitivity is very important because I've
Mm.
talked to a lot of gamers who swap from game to game who are like, oh, um I just kind of go what I feel like on this game, but
Yeah.
that will mess with your aim in other games. Like if you have a sensitivity in Counter Strike and you have something completely different in Valorant, then your aim will start getting worse in the other game,
I agree.
because your whole like it'll throw everything off in your head.
I
And
agree.
yeah, so that's very important. Make sure you always have a consistent aim.
Mm.
Find out very fast if you're more comfortable with your arm or your wrist.
Mm.
So like, because there's two different types of aimers. There's wrist aimers and arm aimers,
Yes.
and there's even hybrid. You can do both. Whatever you're most comfortable with. You pick one of them,
Mm.
and you pick a sensitivity that matches that.
Yeah.
I found out that I was an arm aimer, so I did like a kind of arm aimer, sort of hybridy arm aimer for me.
Mm.
So I did kind of like a middle sensitivity. I don't have a very fast sensitivity,
Mm.
and it's honestly like it's just a lot of. It's a good bit of math. You're just figuring stuff out,
Yeah.
figuring out what you're comfortable with, and then it all kind of comes naturally.
Yeah.
Um, it like it's all about just like not giving up, not going back, and really practicing. I know everyone has the same response to that, but practice is practice makes perfect.
I love
And
hearing you talk about this subject because it's such a sensitive and very very complex subject in FPS. You have a lot of people who are like I tend to like see that it's very very divided in half with people saying what we both agree with, which is like stick to a consistent sense and go from there, and then you have a lot of other people being like, no, it's okay, like, make it more muscle memory, make it this, make it that,
yeah.
right? And it's not that I want to say like I disagree with those people at all,
Hmm.
but rather that I try to view it from the scope of you're a newer player, you are trying to just get your feet off the ground, and you're jumping from sense to sense, and you're like
Yeah.
going from like, oh, my arm, oh, my this, oh, my that, like I
Hmm.
do feel like, yeah, it's good to be cognizant of these things, but the way that you touched on it, I feel like is such an important factor of
Oh
like
yeah.
really really figuring these things out, and like it's easy for like a bigger well-known player or streamer to say like, oh yeah, do this and that and that, but like
Hmm.
hearing you say these things, dude, is like chef kiss.
Oh yeah. That's all things I did whenever I first moved from controller to MNK. It was a lot of learning, like what am I comfortable with? What
Yeah.
sensitivity is best for me, and sticking to it, not swapping it. Because a lot of the time, a lot of people come from M&K, from uh, controller to M&K, is they don't really factor in those things like game to
Yeah,
game
yeah.
as much. Because controller, I'm pretty sure. Like, I don't know if you I don't remember as much if you stick to the same sensitivity on controller throughout the games, but
That's a tough
um,
one too, because like I'm trying to remember back to that too, and
yeah.
maybe some like roller players could like attest to it, but I think it really just depends on the game. I don't think there's like a samey sense other than like the grip. I think the grip is like the most kind of like consistent thing on controller. It's like
Yeah,
you're always claw or you're like this way or that way, and then you just kind of adjust it depending on the game or whatever.
exactly. I think that you're a lot more like dynamic on controller.
Yeah.
You're just kind of swap into what kind of works best for that specific game.
I do like what Coda said in chat though. Sensitivity converters are amazing.
Oh yeah,
Um,
100%.
I don't
Same.
know if you've like have you yourself used that quite frequently as of lately, or like did you once upon a time used to use them, or do you just not use them at all?
Oh, I use them all the time.
Oh,
I
okay,
go to a
okay.
new game and I'm like, oh, I need a sensitivity converter right now. Like, what is this match to like a Valorant sensitivity? I need this right now.
Yeah,
That is
yeah.
very true. Those sensitivity converter websites are godsends, honestly.
I should probably use them a little bit more. I'm more coming from the lazy approach where I'm just like, oh, does I don't know what website to always use. I kind of like bounce
Mhm.
between like three or four of them that pop up whenever I search for them,
Yeah.
and then sometimes like if it's like a newer game, I'm kind of under this impression that like, oh, it's not on here yet, and I just kind of figure it out. Like I did that yesterday
Oh, Fragpunk.
for Fragpunk. Yeah, I was like, well, I think this feels good. I just kind of like
Yeah.
adjusted, accordingly. So, but that's cool that like you use the converters though. It's actually
Yeah,
pretty
converters
endearing.
are great. I highly recommend converters. But yeah, I what was I on? God, I think I was still talking about Counter Strike. I think.
Yeah,
Um, but yeah, I've played a lot of Counter Strike and
yeah. You're
oh,
talking about the community maps, right?
oh yeah, the community maps with the aiming and stuff. Yeah, honestly, that's the best advice I can give for going from M and K to or controller to M and K.
Hmm.
It's just honestly a lot of that. A lot of the mental game of learning like what's best for you. But
One thing I'll say to the community maps is there's a recent player I discovered in Fortnite, a zero build player who
mm,
um I if I end up butchering their story or whatever, like I apologize, but from my understanding is they are, from what I recall them expressing, is that they started not even started they've spent a lot of time in Fortnite um doing just community games or like community maps or whatever. They're just always spending time in creative or whatever. And I kind of like believe that because their gameplay style is like very, very flow state, very raw, very like they kind of like if you could ever describe someone's play style as like think of gun game and they're just picking up and cycling through anything and everything and using every bit of util. It's like it's very, very kind of like
Oh,
messy, but yet it's also very like intentional, intent, right?
adaptable kind of
Adaptable,
practice.
yeah, and that's kind of what I take away from anyone like you who like played creative maps, right? Or
Mm,
custom maps. I mean, it's
yep.
very much that you're like, yeah, it may not be the actual core game mode that is in there, but like it teaches you values, right? Like you
Yeah.
learned a lot, and it definitely did convert into you getting global and
Hmm.
popping off and competitive the way you did. That's actually really cool.
Oh yeah, 100%. Learning to like adapt to any scenario is a very important aspect of improving.
Yeah, yeah.
Especially in BR. BR, you have to adapt to so much bullshit. Oh my god.
Yeah, dude. God, I tell people this all the time. I don't know if you see the same, with others, but like when ever propose the question of like, oh man, should I like, I'm new to FPS, like, should I dive into like, Fortnite or Apex or whatever?
Yeah.
And my whole thing is always like, no, like if you want to like pick up a game, do a controlled environment arena style game, go
Yeah.
from there. Don't like
Yeah,
BRs are
100%.
so many things. Like, but hey, if
Yeah.
your heart's in it, freaking do it.
Yeah,
But
if you're really feeling the passion for that, then go for it. But
yeah,
holy, there's like in certain games like Counter Strike where you can control situations. There's some things in BRs where you cannot control what the outcome of something,
yep,
and that is forever the downside of competitive BR. Is there will be situations where you just lose. There's just nothing you can do.
yep. You do everything to the best that you can, right? And it just results in a
Hmm.
loss no matter what you do.
Precisely, that is the problem.
I actually wanted to ask one of the other questions in chat, but also there's a very, very quick one that Axel had
Hmm.
asked. And that correct me if I'm wrong, but you both use a Logitech Superlight, right? What mouse do you use, Skoit,
I
currently?
use a Superlight. Yes.
Okay, cool. So you're using a Superlight. To answer your question, Axel, I do not anymore. I'm actually using a Endgame Gear OP1 8K. It's a wired mouse right now. So um and then the other question I want to ask, this one is coming from Uncle Wolfie.
Mhm.
And the question is any significant achievements in competitive field, lands, online tournament, or cups?
I've played one LAN Counter Strike match, and it was only for a fill, and we did okay. It wasn't bad. It wasn't good. Nothing mentionable.
Mhm.
But um, other than that, I've it's a lot of personal achievements for me.
Yeah.
Um, like in Counter Strike, I don't know if you've heard about like Open, how they have seasons and stuff.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Uh,
God, I forgot about all the names of the brackets. So hearing you talk about it,
yeah.
it's like memory unlocked again.
I remember some bracket names, and I think the best achievement I've done for a team is I've gotten past open, I've gotten past I think next is intermediate,
Mhm.
and then whatever comes next I almost made it out of. But I actually had to drop out because it was over MFF.
Oh no, wait.
And we
What year
lost the
was
match.
that?
That was like what was that, 2020? I'm trying to remember 2019, 2018,
Wow.
around that bracket.
Yeah,
But,
yeah.
I had to drop out, and they were down a player, and they had to get someone else, and they lost, unfortunately. But I was like, "Sorry, too much
Oh.
trash to pass up on this."
Yeah, yeah. No, dude. I mean, hey, some that's just how life be. I feel like
Yeah,
MFF has always kind of been like this conflicting con because it's like in a weird time of December,
it is.
It's always like
It
finals time, some tournament, some events, people visiting family. Like it's always there.
it's it's always there. It's like I think it was way before when I mentioned, but, um, I, I very much I don't know. It was a hard decision, but I was like, "I really wanna see friends," and, I don't get to see my furry friend. I didn't get to see my furry friends a lot at that time, so I was like, I'm gonna choose this.
Yeah. Well, I'm glad
Um,
that you mentioned, like, the FurCon conflicting, because
mhm,
this is actually one of the other questions I have. And I actually, this one's a pretty big one too, because I feel like this is a very big gray area when it comes
mhm.
to FPS. But question is, do you associate with being a furry and FPS? Do you separate them? Do you intertwine them? What has always been your approach on, how open or expressive you are with like actually being in the fandom?
I want to be as open as possible all the time. My whole life, I've been kind of like quiet about it.
Hmm.
When I was younger, and I wasn't too blatantly open about it. And I want to be as proud as possible. You know who I look up to, and like when I think about being expressive and how open I want to be about it is Sonic Fox.
Hell yeah. Always a
They
good example.
Yeah, Sonic Fox is so unapologetically open about everything that they are, and I respect that to no end.
Yeah.
And I think honestly that just being an open furry in competitive spaces,
Hmm.
some people may not want to work with you. Some people may make fun of you, and that did happen in the Apex era. We got
Yup.
a lot of hate talk and a lot of shit talk of us being a furry team. There was a lot,
Yeah, yeah. God, I
and
will
I was
never forget those people that did say, those things.
yeah, there was a lot of that. And but on the other hand, I want to ask people who are, afraid of letting themselves be known on who they are, is do you really want to be friends with someone who wouldn't like you for the real you to begin with?
Wholeheartedly agree. I'm so glad to hear you saying that.
So like if you're just hiding yourself and not being open about what you are, a furry, an open furry,
Yeah.
then like would you do you really want to be like hanging around these people
Yeah.
like they're probably toxic, even if you weren't a furry they would probably still be toxic,
Yeah.
you know they'd be just overall unpleasant to be around. So
Yup.
I see furry as a deterrent to those people. If they
Yeah.
don't like you for what you are, then you probably wouldn't like them to begin with.
Yup.
And I see that in the competitive scene, they don't accept your skill and they don't see your skill even though you're a furry,
Yup.
then they're not worth your time.
I agree with everything you just said wholeheartedly.
Mhm.
And to elaborate a little bit more on that too, because I'm so happy to hear you answer that question, and honestly, just with your answer entirely, because everyone who is in some sort of competitive genre of gaming, I feel like Sonic Fox is always that beacon for everyone. And
Mhm.
when you think about Sonic Fox's journey and how they have gotten to where they are now, obviously there's a lot of grind, there's a lot of hard work, a lot of defeat, a lot of wins. Like it's obviously like, it's a hard battle, uphill battle that they've done. And
Yeah.
the thing about, being a fighting game, God is like Sonic is that fighting games, which this is what you and I've talked a lot about, are you're not relying on a team, you're relying on yourself.
Oh yeah.
Your mental, your everything, right? Like it's all you. You're the one who is responsible for the outcome of your games. Um and the same goes for like a lot of other genres in gaming, and it's like you have speed running, you have fighting
Mhm.
games, you have what like uh RPGs, you have RTSs, like there's just so many genres in gaming where like I feel like there's a lot more acceptance, regardless of
Uh,
you being like in a fandom, or in this case, like being a furry. And I feel like out of all of them, FPS is the most toxic,
it
because
is.
Azel said this yesterday, and that's it's toxic masculinity. Because I was like, oh yeah, it's like
Mhm.
very masculine, this and that. He's like, no, toxic masculinity. I'm like, you're right,
Yeah.
because everyone, it's a lot of very like immature, very tunnel vision, closed-minded people. And really, I think a lot of FPS gamers, they rely on or demand results, right? That's kind of like the first
Mhm.
thing. And sometimes you can even have the results and they still will just view you as, a bad person or a
The
bad
problem,
player or
yeah.
whatever, right?
Or just the problem, like, oh, you need to be like you're the problem here. You need to be fixed and stuff like that.
Exactly. And so I say all this because hearing you explain everything the way that you did, it's a very powerful thing in FPS gaming to not be afraid of expressing who you are. Um,
Mhm.
from the day I've known you, I have never once ever felt you have held back on being yourself unapologetically, and I've always
Oh,
respected
yeah.
that about you. Um, Another
That's
person
good
that
to
actually
see.
comes to mind too is like Bobo. Bobo is like, as far as I know, I don't know them, on a super deep personal level, especially the way that I do with you. And
Mm.
from my outside perspective, I've just been noticing that like they're on a very very dedicated grind in aim trainers and also in rivals right now, and they're doing coaching and all that stuff. And I've not seen them hold back who they are. Not that I want to veer
Yeah.
this into like a them, topic, but what I'm trying to say, just bring it full circle, is that like I have the utmost respect and admiration for, players such as yourself and like Bobo and like so many others who just don't shy away from being themselves. Like some could argue, oh, it's a hindrance on like your growth and this and that and that. To some
Mhm.
degrees, it could be, but I feel like it's all about results, right? Results
Yeah,
and
exactly.
showing that you're not the dog shit, quote unquote, like player that they deem you as or something.
Mhm. Exactly, like, force them to recognize your skill,
Yeah. Yup. I
no
love
matter what
that.
you are.
Damn, tap that on like, your butt cheek or something.
Gotcha, on the way. But, yeah, always force people to like, no matter what people think of you, you could always just be so cracked and so insane that they can't even, like, they have to look past it, and, the more angry they are about it, the better. Fuck them.
Yup. No, I agree. I'm gonna that one goes in the memory banks for sure. I love that quote, Skoit. So
Oh,
good.
yeah.
Um cool. Let me actually ask the next question then. This one is from chat. Um
Mhm.
So this one's from Zumba. And they ask, originally being controller players, can you pick it back up like riding a bike, or is it M&K or bus now?
If I were to, like, go back on controller.
Mhm.
Ah, fuck. I think I'd be dog shit on controller. I actually think I'd be total cheeks. I haven't touched like a competitive like shooter with a controller in years.
Mm,
It would take me a bit. I think I could like like if I did the Apex route where like everyone was swapping to controller. I think it would. If I really wanted to hone in on that, maybe I definitely would not be like a bike though,
yeah, yeah.
like at all.
I agree because I feel like, correct me if I'm wrong, because this is I can kind of see like where you're coming from and like your mental state on it. There are
Mhm.
things that you learn strategically and game sense wise on how to navigate the terrain as an M&K
Yeah.
player
Mhm.
versus how you navigate as a controller player, right?
Oh yeah,
And I feel like
yeah.
there's a lot of having to undo some of that learning because controller players, I know we joke about this all the time, you say this all the time. There is a genuine term that we've thrown about and has been thrown about called controller brain, right? Or roller brain.
Yeah, yeah.
And I feel like that's a very real thing because controller is consistent,
Mhm.
M&K,
Ex
what do we suffer from, right? We have inconsistent
Yeah,
days. But that's the
exactly.
realness to it. So
I
that's
see
crazy.
in like Apex and stuff, like controllers are like a walking turret.
Yeah.
You know, they kind of have like predictable movement, but if they lock onto you and they have like smarter positioning, or you're dead. There's no movement, there's no nothing. You can't do shit. You're dead.
I always love when we you or I get beamed by a controller player and then it's on spectate and it's like watching an old man, navigate the
Mhm.
battlefield, but then they lock onto that target and they're just beaming like, hitting
Yeah,
every ball. It's just so funny. Like, oh, there it is.
we're dead. All right, there goes the turret. Locking on, but yeah, I do have a lot more respect for like just general controller players who are completely like clean, because like there's a lot of, unfortunately, like Zen and like what is it? What's the other one? Like is it Trigger? But I don't know what it's called, but like there's a lot of different things to like enhance controller further. But
Oh,
I
you're
have
talking
respect
about
for,
the attachments or whatever.
yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
So I have a lot more respect for like controller players who are just like solely controller,
yeah.
no add-ons, no like all that bullshit that makes it even more like powerful. But
Same here, dude. This is what I enjoy about being able to do this podcast with you is
mm,
it's a very very fun, and I don't want to say eye opening. I don't think that's the right word for it, but like it's very it's very cool to hear how relatable a lot of our um mentalities are when it comes to these
oh yeah,
things. Like, viewing a very talented, very good controller player, versus someone just like built around aim assist. It's like
yeah.
lacking the game sense, but they just beam. Like, I will
Mm,
always have so much admiration for roller players who are, like you said, like very very kind of raw input, or not even just raw input, but they're also just very good with their game decision making. That's I feel like the skill gap right there is that learning of like, oh yep, I'm not gonna put myself out in the open and rely on aim assist. It's like all
uh-huh.
about playing positioning or util, whatever it may be.
Yeah, exactly, exactly.
Thank you, Root. Yeah, reaffirming. Thank you. I still tend to blank on these words, so I know
Okay.
these words. um
Oh my God.
So I have another question for you, which is
Yeah.
for what FPS do you have the most hours in?
Gosh, dude, I wish I could see my hours in Valorant. I can't, but maybe I can. But I think it's still Counter Strike to this day,
Mm,
coming in at around 6,000.
mm,
But my hours can kind of stagnate around like 3K because I'm someone who likes to jump around games
mm.
very often, and when a game falls off or I feel like I've like done my thing on that game and there's nothing else I really have to achieve there,
Yeah,
I will move on and try a different one.
yeah.
So like I'd say yeah, Counter Strike at 6K,
Mm.
but that's a rarity. I don't think that's gonna happen again. I think it's gonna kind of like stagnate around 3K.
That's a good amount of time too. I know it may sound like little baby man hours compared to like what, like an MMO or
Yeah.
or
Oh
whatever, but
my
that's a
god.
very different grind.
Yeah. Yeah.
But that's awesome. Damn, 6K hours. That's
Mm,
impressive.
Counter Strike facing cheaters.
Oof. Oof.
It's so bad right now. I played a little Counter Strike earlier because like I got invited by an old friend,
Mhm.
and I every game I played was against like blatant cheating. I was like,
God,
I
dude.
I don't know how people do it. I guess they do face it, but it
God,
was
it's the
bad.
struggle with FPS. There's just every game has cheaters. That's just how it is.
Yeah.
That's I if there's anything that I've learned, and I don't know, I guess this could tie into a whole different question, but
Mhm.
I've had to come to terms with at some point along my FPS journey, just accepting that like, yeah, every FPS just has a cheater. And like I feel like if you don't, you're kind of just I don't want to belittle anyone, because if you're that
Mhm.
beaming ray of sunshine, it's like, man, every player's just good, this not that, yo, power to you. But I do definitely feel that there just comes a point where it's just like you just have to accept that. Like,
Yeah,
cheaters are
exactly.
just everywhere, unfortunately, in
Yeah,
FPS. So
all over. The only safe haven, unfortunately, right now is Valorant. And I think I haven't really seen any cheaters in Marvel Rivals.
yeah.
I've seen, I think, like early on, but it was like only one or two, and then after that, I never saw them again.
Yeah, we've gotten pretty fortunate, I think, whenever we're gaming together, to not run
Hmm.
into cheaters and so forth. So I'm
Yeah,
glad that it hasn't been that
yeah.
blatant yet.
Honestly, it's not been that bad yet, which is nice.
Yeah. Um, I'm gonna actually kind of read through chat real quick, and I just want to like
Yeah,
see a
sure.
few questions that maybe have like been missed and whatnot. Um,
Hmm.
so this one is from this one's from our Bree, our good old wholesome
Bree.
Bree. Um, would you rather have unlimited bacon but no more games, or games, unlimited games and no game?
I've been fearing this question for the rest of my life because I don't know what the fuck it means. My dog brain can't comprehend what the hell that means. I don't know what you're saying.
just say bacon. That's it. That's the answer.
Bacon. I like bacon. Bacon's good. I don't know.
So I mean, I don't blame you. Like, how could one not like bacon?
Exactly. I love bacon. Okay.
I'm actually happy to delve into this next question though, and then I'll ask or read off the next question from chat. But
Sure.
this question actually, I'm eyeing Bree and any of the other enthusiasts in here, but um, what is your stance on aim trainers? Do you find them significant? Do you find them, to be kind of like a hoax? Like what is your stance on it? And have you ever yourself used aim trainers?
I think that it is subjective to the person. I think that for me personally, I have a very bad like ADHD, and that could be a struggle with a lot of people in the competitive scene. Is ADHD
Mm,
can really like hinder your ability to concentrate and hone in.
yeah.
Um, but for me, if I aim train too long,
Mm,
I lose the sauce completely.
mm,
So I have to find a really good balance. So I'd say like they're like it's in the middle. I wouldn't say it's like so substantial. I wouldn't say it's like useless.
yeah.
I'd say it's in the middle. It's like good. You have to find your balance. If you're someone who can aim train for an hour
Mm,
straight and like just go in a game and you're cracked, then more power to you. Then that's probably very, very important for you to do.
yeah.
But if
Yeah.
you're someone like me whose brain starts to zone out the second they spend more than 20 minutes in a name trainer,
Mm,
then you got to find your balance. Gotta
yeah.
you gotta learn like when is the stopping point for you to be like fresh minded and ready to go into the game and like you know get your peak performance.
Yeah.
I know that my stopping point on the name trainer, which I do use aim trainers.
Mm,
Um, about 20 minutes, 10 minutes to 20 minutes is my. If I go more than that, then I'll be hot shit. I can't.
mm. No,
Can't lose focus.
I love hearing you say all this, by the way. Like it
Mm,
every everything that you have broken down, and your perspective on all these things, I'm actually like I'm both impressed, but also like it's no surprise too. And I mean this in a very positive way that like this is kind of a testament to why you are the way that you are in your skill. Um
mm,
I've actually been delving very, very like hardcore um into studying and learning more about like what are some players doing to hit that next level and just FPS but also in aim training. And if there's anything more I cannot repeat what you just said is basically the diminishing return. Um
mm,
it is a very, very talked about thing in the aim trainer community, or a bunch. I guess I'm just gonna say aimers, and that's
mm.
there definitely gets to a point where grinding Kovacs or aim labs or whatever for like more than like 1 hour, 2 hours a day, unless you're planning on playing another game, it's probably not best to only dedicate and hyperfixate on that one aim trainer scenario or the multiple aim. You know what I mean? It's like
Yeah.
diversifying is utmost important, and it's also reaffirming to hear you express that because like again it doesn't sound like you use aim trainers much, and
Mm,
that's good, that's okay. Like aim trainers are obviously like you said what you make of it, and I definitely do think that like there's definitely a diminishing return where if you're just like spend all that time, then guess what, you drain the sauce for that one game that you're gonna jump on. Like
yeah.
it kind of defeats the
Exactly.
purpose of like a warm-up or a practice or whatever.
Yep, for some people it's too much, and it is my ADHD to blame. I literally, if I will go like brain numb. My brain just goes numb
Yeah.
instead of like actually really honing in.
Yeah.
And yeah, that's honestly one of the biggest struggles with like aim training too much. But I will
Mm.
always aim train a little bit, like on the specific game.
Mm.
Like Valorant has its own warm up bots. I always like flick the heads for like 10-20 minutes,
I
and
love that you're saying this, by the way, because
mm,
I not that I want to stop your train of thought. I would love for you to elaborate on it more. This
mm.
actually is the part two to that same question, which is like, do you have any warm up routines? Like, and if so,
Oh
like,
yeah.
what are your warm up routines? And you were just saying Valorant, with the
Yep.
end game, right?
In game, yep. Flicking the heads. There's like you can test yourself. You have 30 bots that pop up, and I do expert all the time because it's the fastest flicking method, and
Yeah,
it's also about like knowing how to move while you're practicing because 80% of the time you will not just be standing still in the open like a turret
yeah,
in game. You will be moving around. You'll be counter strafing.
hmm,
You will be um, there'll be different situations, and those are the best. Those are my favorite aim trainers. Are the ones that actually do put you through the scenarios where like you do have to move. You have to. peek this corner, you have to pre-fire this. In Counter-Strike, there's actually maps meant for that, where you clear A and there'll be bots positioned on different portions of the map that you have to pre-fire,
Right,
and
right.
they're like super fast depending on the difficulty. If they will take your head off in a half second if you don't pre-fire that angle.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
those were my favorite warm-ups for Counter-Strike. I loved those warm-ups.
I love hearing how you warmed up in Counter Strike, and I mean it's also a testament to um how cool Counter Strike has been in terms of like its accessibility for
Hmm.
like something as simple as like warm up routines, right? I mean, with it
Yeah.
being like a source, game and having a very very heavy involvement with like community based things, like I think that's actually really cool. That's how you're warming up, at least on Counter Strike. So, I mean, what are your current warm up routines? Do you have any that you're using right now in the current games you play, other than I guess the
Uh,
Valorant's warm up range, or is that like kind of the main one that you do?
that's the main one I do for Valorant. And
Hmm.
then, yeah, like I said, for Counter Strike, the pre-fire maps. I'm trying to remember the exact name of them, but if anyone plays Counter Strike, highly recommend the pre-fire maps.
Hmm.
For different like maps. Like that was back in the Go days for me though, but
Yeah, yeah.
they're so helpful. They're so good because it just gets your brain prepared for any situation, especially since the bots are randomized in different positions.
Hmm.
So you will clear everything and
Yeah.
be ready, and it'll get your crosshair placement on point, which is
Crosshair plate. Yup.
oh yeah, it's extraordinarily important to get your crosshair placement.
Oh, I'm so
Is
happy to hear you hit that one.
crosshair
Um,
placement is important.
I'm gonna um delve into that with one of our other questions. But
Hmm.
before I do, I actually did want to read off another question in that chat was asking. If that's okay.
Yeah,
So,
sure.
this one comes from Tibsy Wibsy. Um, is there a competitive FPS that you won't touch anymore? If so, why?
Um, Gotta keep telling myself Apex Legends. But I come back to it for like the beginning of the season every time. But Apex just
Literally us in Apex.
yeah, honestly, Apex is just so bad to the players, and I don't know who's to blame anymore. Like, is it EA? Is it Respawn? I know Respawn talks about how much they really want to like make changes for the players, make the game more fun,
Yeah.
uh, but they're not allowed to. They're being held back.
Oh man, like Apex is that spectacle that I like. Azel and I joke a lot that like it just, you try to they're a toxic relationship. You try to leave them,
They are.
but they just come back every time.
Yeah, and the saddest aspect of that is they're coming back little by littler each time. So
Yeah.
it's like it's holding my attention for smaller and smaller periods of time every time it comes back.
Yep.
And that makes me very sad because I loved Apex and it was a really fun
Uh,
game.
Man, it
It was
just remind me of that too. The article you sent
Mhm.
me.
Yep, I don't know if anyone heard, but the Apex was developing a new shooter. Respawn was developing a new shooter.
Yeah.
The devs behind Titanfall 2, and Apex were making a shooter, and it just got canned today.
So
So,
unfortunate, dude.
and it was right before they were going to do reveals for it too. They just completely canned it.
So unfortunate.
It makes me so mad because I'm like, dang, I feel like if anyone knows how to do a like really engaging, fun, movement-heavy shooter, it's this Titanfall and Apex devs.
Yeah.
But we're not getting that. I don't know what they're gonna do now, but
I love that you're talking about Apex, and then right now like it's playing one of your Apex clips on I was about to say domination, control or
oh
whatever.
yeah, it
And
was going in.
man, like so when I was going through, I'm gonna veer a little slightly off track just to
Yeah.
mention this, but like when I was going through all your clips, I had seen some of these clips. Some of these were also just like, wow, memory unlocked. I forgot about this a while ago. But like I was so impressed with all the clips you sent me. And then there's a part of me that was like, man, this is like a fraction of what I feel like others get to see Skoit do. Like I wish I on this is more of a selfish demand, but I was like, man, I wish Skoit sent me more clips because I want them to see like more of your Counter Strike clips. I want them to see
Oh
more of
yeah.
your Valorant clips. Like because I know that that's like your main squeeze is you pop off in
Hmm.
Valorant really really hard, and Some of these ones were like, wow, these are the like the lost gems or hidden gems that people are like, oh, what? Skoit played like Fortnite, like Skoit did like this and that, but um no, it's just always cool to see. I love um the Titanfall clip that was playing a
Oh
little bit ago,
yeah.
where you got that, like, I think it was a quad feed or something like
Yeah, you clipped that. I remember that. You clipped that. I was like, what just happened?" I was
that.
still kinda confused at what happened after that after I hit that. I
Yeah.
wish I sent you the one I'm really sad I didn't send you was the one where I brained someone by, like, running through a doorway because he was chasing me. I was 1 HP, and I did the rewind, and I teleported behind him, then the animation melee killed him in the air.
Oh no, I remember that. Oh, I
That
think,
one was so badass.
dude, that was certified like anime moment right there.
It really was. Teleports behind you, nothing personal, kid.
All right. This I'm gonna read off this next question.
Alright, go ahead.
This one is actually from Uncle Wolfie. They ask, is there any game that you would really want to play, either casually or competitively? However, you've seen highlights or heard or seen live game and got intimidated by the game itself or
Game
player
itself.
slash players.
Um, I think I can answer that. And I would say the closest thing I have to that is probably Deadlock.
Deadlock,
Because I
really?
really loved Deadlock for a while, but dude, MOBA ain't my thing. I'm bad.
Mm,
I'm really bad at MOBAs. But the technical, like the technical aspect of like the movement, the
mm.
shooting, like the ability usage, I was all really good at. So um I would say, oh yeah, I would definitely say Deadlock if that game like continues to take off. Yeah.
This is really fascinating to hear because, like, out of everyone, within our like gaming circle and our friend circle and stuff, we obviously have a lot of people around us that play Deadlock still.
Hmm.
And if there's one thing that I haven't really discussed or heard much of is like, how is that Deadlock journey going for them, And
Yeah.
it's very relatable, for me, like hearing you say that, like, MOBA ain't your thing. I've always felt that way too. I just felt like there are just some games that you pick up and it just clicks, right? And
Yeah.
it's pretty fascinating to hear that, like, you try Deadlock and it just isn't your thing. And that's a
Hmm.
very, very real factor. Like, some games just don't click on that like aspect and it just be like that. But
Yeah. MOBA is hard to learn. MOBA is very hard to learn.
yeah, how much time did you spend in it? Do you remember off the top of your head before you're like, yeah,
Oh,
I'm good on this right now?
a good. Let me look right now. I played 172 hours.
Wow, 172. That's a good amount of time to really, really hammer in on that too. That's
Yeah, I
respectable.
tried. I tried. I think that maybe I'll try again in the future, but I don't think I'll ever be where I want to be in that game because like people with like a good brain for MOBA will probably destroy me.
Yeah, yeah.
I'm not good at that shit.
MOBA brain is definitely a very, very different approach to the game,
Yeah.
and that is one that I also lack a lot of experience in. I always kind of think of all the games that we have poured our time and soul into, or like the genre itself. I was thinking of it like a skill tree. I was like, okay, how many like points do I want to put into this game, and how many points do I want to put into this genre? It's like I think about MOBA, and I'm like, man, I have no points in that.
Yeah, exactly.
There's a reason I'm bad at MOBAs, or some other games within that like similar space.
Yeah. And there's a reason I never drive in battle royales either because I suck at driving games.
Mm,
Holy shit, I'm so bad at driving.
really? Oh man, that is actually a genre that I once upon a time used to be pretty okay at. I didn't get crazy like those insane clips you see from time to time where they're like
Hmm.
people drifting like maniacs and they're just like hitting all this like pixel perfect, I don't know, turns and stuff. I'm just like, I wasn't that good, but I was like, I got it. I got it. So I'm gonna actually run this next question for you,
Hmm.
which is, um, what is your perspective on age when it comes to esports, or even
Oh, that's a
just,
good one.
you know how does that factor into the game that they play? Like, Because how many times have we heard like, "Oh, I'm too old to have this
Yeah,
reaction," or this and that and that? Like, what's your whole take on that?
I have actually. That's a good question because, like, I've always thought about that. I think that honestly, it's funny. I don't think I peaked in games until I was like 25
Mm,
ish, and a lot of people would say that's like starting to get to the age where you're like, oh, you're starting to lose it. But
yeah.
that's kind of where I got it.
Mm,
Um, and I think it's all a mental thing. I think that like reactions be damned. I think that like I've seen some people up like in their 30s and stuff like hitting insane reactionary shots. I just think it's all mental because
mm,
I think when the older you get,
yeah.
the more things you have on your mind. You're not thinking about just the game
Yeah.
because when you're a kid and you're young, um, all you think about, all you can really focus on just the game. This is your life. This game is your life. This is
Yeah.
like everything. But when you're getting old, when you're getting like older 30s, older like all that,
Mm,
there's so many more aspects of
yeah.
life going on in your brain
Yeah.
that you lose focus, you lose track, and it's all about finding that focus again. And
Yes.
for
Yup.
that moment when you're in the game, that's like all that matters is right now, right then, right there. Nothing else in your life, even though there's a lot of stuff going on,
Yeah.
matters, but that game right there. And you really got to find your place there. Like,
Yes.
and then I think you can compete with any age. Any age works.
That is such a good perspective you have, Skoit.
Mm,
I love
it's
hearing you say this.
yeah, it's. I think that anyone can be like just as good. I don't think age matters as much as people make it out to.
Yeah. Yeah. How many times have we seen clips, pop up from time to time of like granny games playing Call of Duty or like, you know, um,
Yeah,
some like old guys just dominating in like Warzone or something or
I've seen a sniper player who's like in his like what upper 70s
mm,
in Battlefield, and he hits some insane sniper shots. I'm like, oh damn, okay.
yeah.
It was a TikTok person, and I'm like, wow, okay. That's inspiring.
This is all what contributes, I feel, to the very, very healthy mental that you have as an FPS player. Because I feel like there's so many little things that build upon, a player overall, right? Like personality. I know a lot of people may or may not think quite much about this when it comes to being like the best in the genre of the game that they play or just being really, really good. But
Hmm.
there's definitely a big mental aspect to it. And I touch
Oh
on this
yeah.
a lot too when it comes to what separates a good player from another good player, and it's always mental. And I think that you have a very, very good perspective on all these things. And like I said, it shows. Um I actually was watching or not watching, sorry, I was listening to another podcast leading up to this one, and there is this phenomenal player who's getting interviewed, and it was this player who, I don't know if you've ever heard them before. Do you happen to know who Viscose is?
Viscosis. What game did he play? You know?
Viscose is a they're very, very well known for their contributions to their phenomenal aim across just like multiple
Oh.
games, and they are like a aim connoisseur when it comes to aim trainers.
Hmm.
And the like interesting question that they were asked was not quite like, what is your stance on age when it comes to like gaming at a high level, but it was very much in a similar category where they brought up their age. They I think they said they were 19 or something during this very, very recent podcast, and they were, I think, talking about how um it's not necessarily, the age portion, it's more of your mental approach. And I think
Oh yeah.
you touched on it perfectly because they said something very similar in the lines of like when you're, like under like 20 and
Hmm.
you're living at home still and you don't have like all these responsibilities and stuff, you can get into your flow state a lot easier because you don't
Oh
have all
yeah.
the life distractions.
Hundred
And you
percent.
said yourself you hit your stride at like 25, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
that's kind of, I think, the main case in point though is that like I think a lot of people end up telling themselves that, oh man, like I'm like too old for these things now, or this and that and that. And I
Mhm.
think it's really just a matter of like they just need to find or channel that right area to help them overcome that hurdle, you know.
Yeah.
And
I
I'm
th-
glad
it,
that you're touching on it that way.
oh yeah, and it's a pretty big. It can be a pretty big hurdle because like you'll have all the younger generation of like people who in shooters and FPS coming at you constantly,
Yeah,
and I think that when people start to slip and like get washed is like when they start to let those people get to them.
yeah,
They're like oh they're like I'm starting to like mess up like this person's like better than me and he's like what 17 years old.
yeah.
Oh, I maybe I am just old. Like no, like and despite what anyone says, like 30 is still very young, dude. 30 is so young still,
I agree.
and it's like no one understands that until they get like closer to that age group. But it's still so young, still so much more life to experience, and I think that you still have all your potential that you could have if you just have the correct mental for it.
Wholeheartedly agree. Like 100%. Actually,
Hmm.
on that note, and if you don't feel comfortable saying this, you don't have to, but how old are you, if you don't mind me asking?
I'm gonna be 29 in April.
Wow, really? Oh, so you're getting closer to the 30 skill tree then.
Yes, sir. And
Hell
I
yeah.
honestly do not give a damn. Like I said, I still think 30 is a very young age.
That's really, really endearing to hear too. I mean, hopefully to anyone else in chat who, also is just about to hit 30 or is in their 30s. Um,
Hmm.
you're hearing it from Skoit first. Like I not just from Skoit, but from the fact that like, yeah, don't let age be a hindrance to, what you're mentally or physically capable of. I feel like
Yeah.
physical factor is really the only thing that starts to come with the age. I
Yeah.
feel like
Exactly.
that or and then the other thing you're mentioning, which is like life responsibilities, right? And I think
Yeah.
that's
Exactly.
if you can figure out a way of combating that, and really, really telling yourself that no, it's not like an age thing, like it's X factor, this and that and that, then I feel like you're set up for success. And I think you touched on everything very, very well. So I'm glad that you're not dreading 30. I am
Mhm.
35 right now, and a big part of like what I've always tried to express to others who tune into the stream is, when age comes up, I always have to be like, yeah, guess what? I'm 30 something right now, and I'm still doing
Mhm.
these things. Like you can
Yeah.
do it,
And you got very fast reactionary like aim. So like honestly, just take a look at Door.
Take a look at
Still
Skoy
got
too.
his reflexes. Still
Yup.
got very fast reflexes. Very fast aim. Very good tracking. 30s don't mean shit to your ability to compete and be very good at stuff
Yeah, what is
in
it with these
games.
gamers saying that we're boomers when you
Yeah,
hit
I know,
like
right?
mid 20 or whatever?
What the heck? Calling me unk and shit? Like, nah, fuck that.
um gosh, I'm very, very happy to be hitting on all these things. So thank you again for giving your like honest input and stuff.
Mm.
I feel like it's like both very, very, uplifting and inspiring to hear, but also like I get to hear it from you as someone who's played with you for X amount of years.
Oh yeah, it's been
So
a long time.
so this raises my next question for you, which is what is this one's gonna be a little bit more of a, it could be a quicker or a little bit deeper of a question, but
Hmm.
um what is some aim tips and advice you could share with others? Like if you could like tell it to anyone, regardless of like they're a beginner or they're an experienced player. Oh, actually, let's narrow it down to like what would you tell someone who's just picking up M&K, for the first time? What is some tips, advice you would give them?
Some tips and advice. Oh, okay. So definitely, like like I said before, crosshair placement because I know that anyone can tell the skill of level of a player based on where they are putting their mouse.
Yeah,
So that should be telling us just how important it is to know where to put your mouse at all times. Where should your mouse be like aimed at? Where should you be holding? Where should you be doing this and that?
yeah,
Crosshair
yeah,
placement is so important. Like like I'll watch a spectator player in Valorant and I'll know like, oh, this person's like, he's not very good. He's staring at a wall. He's looking too far down. He's aiming for someone as tall as Shaquille O'Neal. Like there's you can tell just how good a player is by just where their mouse is aimed at.
Yeah.
And so that's just like the test of just, how much you should put into like, where to aim. Like even in like Apex and BR games and stuff like that,
Mhm.
you still need to know where to be looking,
Yeah.
where to put your mouse. It's very important. And like I said, all the info I gave before about like, getting the correct sensitivity and sticking to it. Because if you change your settings too much, you mess with yourself. You fuck yourself.
Yeah.
A lot of people, you'll see them on stream and stuff. The big no-no is to be like, "Oh, I'm changing my sense right now. I'm playing like ass." No, that's not how you get out of a slump is by changing settings until you find something like you got to stick to like, what you think is right.
Yeah. I think one thing they miss pretty heavily on that factor is when they're watching someone just changing their sense as a way of like overcoming their lack of performance.
Hmm.
I don't think they're factoring in that this is on top of their years of experience. This is on top of their, trials, tribulations of getting to where they are now. And when a
Hmm.
player or a streamer doesn't elaborate on that, it needs to be a reminder to like the newer MNK players that like, oh, that's why they're doing that. But like sometimes
Hmm.
it varies, right, from person to person. That might work for them, but it doesn't mean that that's what everyone should do, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
And I
Exactly.
think you touching on that's such a good thing. It's very, very cool to hear that.
Just don't do it too much, If you do it too much, you're just gonna like kind of set yourself back a little bit.
Yeah, yeah,
Especially if you've been playing on that sense that you're changing for a very long time. You have to dedicate yourself to a change if you are gonna make a change.
yes. You can't half-ass it because you half-ass it, you don't know what the capability is, right?
Yeah, exactly. You gotta
Yeah.
stick to it. Like, oh, I want to change my aim style a little bit. Yeah, you can go a little bit faster aim if you want, but you gotta stick to it.
Yep. Speaking of sticking to it, this actually, God, banger segue. By the way, this goes into the next question from chat, which this one comes from Zumba.
Mm.
Zumba asks, when going for a crazy flank, how often is it calculated, or is
Oh,
it
that's a
just
good.
high risk, high reward plus map knowledge mostly? And I think, and the
That is
only
a.
reason why I say segue is because the
Oh
commitment
yeah.
part, right?
Yeah. Oh,
So
that is a good question. That is something that a lot of people have to understand on a deeper like game sense like knowledge because reality when you go for a flank you definitely want to make sure that the other team is as much like distracted as possible like by like I usually make a flank when I see the most basic way to tell is to see the enemy team like making like a push on a different site on like the opposite site that you're on if you're on defense and you're flanking.
mhm,
And that means that most people are currently on the other site. There could be one or two people waiting for you, but you got to be ready for that. You got to catch them off guard,
mhm,
um, and you commit to it. But I would say it's never based off of just feeling alone because if it's real quiet, no one's making any moves. That usually means that they're waiting. They're waiting and they're holding for you and they're expecting you. So if there's not a lot of action happening on the map,
mhm,
I would say never flank
mhm.
because 80% of the time they're waiting for it.
Yeah,
So it's just like when the most noise is going on, when the most action is happening, that is the best time to make your move and commit to a flank.
yeah,
Or if you see like if we're talking about Valorant, if they have a cipher on their team and the cipher goes down while they're attacking the other site, that means there's no like nothing's gonna see nothing's gonna like be able to suss you out like a trip or anything like that. So
yeah.
you can really commit to a flank without having to worry about someone being ready for it.
Right, right. Keep them guessing. Basically, use
Mhm.
use all the commotion to mask your flank.
Oh yeah, and if we're talking Counter Strike's all like yeah, just based on like getting space because like in a very high competitive setting in Counter Strike, you're usually fighting for space on defense. You don't want to be holding all the way back on site because that gives them a lot of like accessibility to like do a take.
Mhm,
So in Counter Strike, you're fighting for space. Your teammate on site is flashing for you to get deeper deeper into the defensive site.
Mhm.
Like if you're on Mirage, you're fighting for apps. If you don't see anyone there and they're making noise on the other side, you can push, take space, because you know. But yeah, it's never really like, oh, I think I should go now. It's definitely based off of the knowledge you have of what's going on the map at that exact moment, which is a very, very heavy game sense thing that a lot of people have to learn. That is very like experienced.
I love hearing you say all this because it's a very very difficult skill to have in any
Hmm.
FPS, especially when it's like very team oriented. Um, I think that you're hearing you say this is amazing because I think you're a phenomenal flanker. You're also one thing that I need to highlight about Skoit is that he is a very very phenomenal player all around, but a very good on the fly decision maker. I feel like getting that skill, it's not impossible to do, but you have
Oh
to be
yeah.
able to view it from the scope that like, you're talking about, right? Um,
Hmm.
Not that I want to talk about you in like third person, but I just say this because like I think that you are like you're very, very good at flexing all
Thank
of
you.
these skills because of your experience in multiple games across the board. And I
Hmm.
feel like flanking is one of those harder skills, right? It's like kind of like
Oh, it
ganking
is.
in League, which I know a lot of people play
Yeah.
League. It's like when is the right time to gank, right? When's the right time to
Yeah.
like, really really make the dive through jungle or whatever? And it's like, yeah, you just gotta. That's the game sense flex right there. Just gotta know
Yeah.
how to fill it
You
out, know how to
got to be
experience it.
hyper aware.
Yup.
Hyper aware of everything that's happening on the map.
To elaborate a little bit more on the question, you've answered it so well. Like I'm taking notes myself too, by the way. Um, What is in like a more like current and popular game, what has helped you with executing a good flank in Rivals? Like
In
when you
Rivals.
are playing as like, whether you're playing as a dive character or maybe you find like a good opportunity to go for a flank, right? Like
Hmm.
what helps you get into that mental
Well, in
in
Rivals,
that execution, yeah.
that is a very, I would say that's like a different ballpark, because if you're just being an annoyance to the backline, you're
Hmm.
doing your job.
Yeah.
Like if you don't get any kills, you're a DPS, you're a Psylocke, you are bothering the support. You know what you're doing? You're pulling the attention away from the front line.
Yeah.
So say like you got Cloak and Dagger and Luna like healing each other, like, oh, I can't kill either of the supports, they're just like they're stacked on each other. You're
Mhm.
doing your job, you're doing a good thing,
Yeah.
because that means the tanks are suffering, and I understand that all too well because I'm always the tank that's suffering. And they're not able to look at me because they're too busy keeping each other up, and that means the front line can roll the tanks.
Oh, the many
And
times I see you poor solo tanking, just going through it.
yeah, that is the struggle of tanks. Is if there's good flankers, they know they don't have to kill the backline. They just have to distract the backline. And so honestly, on Rivals, the mentality of flanking is just always do it, depending on the character that you are.
Mm,
Just be good at surviving.
yeah.
Be good at playing around medkits. Be good about playing, um, like just being as survivable as possible. Because if you just get turned on and picked, then your flank was worthless, and now you're down a guy. But
Yeah, yeah.
if you can stay up and just bother the absolute shit out of the back line, you're doing your job, even if they're not dying. As long as you're not dying and they're not able to fully focus the tanks.
Oh man. I love hearing you break this down a little bit more because
Mhm.
like I was saying, at the beginning of the question, like it's Rivals is obviously being played by the masses. It's played by all of our
Mhm.
friends. Everyone is either once played Overwatch and is now taking a break from Overwatch, and then oh hey, Rivals comes out, and like oh my god, I'm back on that grind again. And
Yeah, exactly.
um, this is where I'm gonna do two things right now because I would love to fine tune a question particularly for chat. Um, but the first thing I want to ask chat is if you guys could say what your current main game is that you're playing, just type out the name of the game that you guys play right now. Like, what is your main most played game? And then the second question is actually for you, Skoy, because I'd love to hear
Mhm.
your elaboration on this more. Um, because you are a phenomenal ex Overwatch player, you're a phenomenal current Rivals player. Your main role was supports in
Yeah.
Overwatch, right? And
Yes.
your main role in Rivals, correct me if I'm wrong, is still support, but you're a flex player overall, right?
Yeah. I would
So,
say yeah.
so my question to you then is, knowing what your roles are, um, what has helped you achieve the climb to the high ranks? Like, for example, you just got shot. I don't know if you guys know this, but Skoit just hit Celestial. I know, to some that may or may not be a big deal. I view it as a very big deal because it's an expression of what they are accomplishing, as well as, being a flex player and all these other factors. So, what is a big important thing that has helped you in your climb through Rivals to Celestial and moving forward? And what helped you in Overwatch? Like, what was the big key factors that helped you overall?
Ironically, it's the ability of being as flexible as possible.
Mm,
So being able to, because like like target bans, how people are like have that stupid stat tracker and they can like target ban you. Well, if you're good at like a bunch of different characters, they can't target ban you because like, oh, what? Oh, you banned a character I play. I guess I'll play this other one I'm really good at. Whatever.
yeah, yeah.
And it's kind of the same with Overwatch. Someone picks the character you want to play. You have other characters you're very good at playing. If you're very only good at playing one or two characters, then you're gonna find games where you're just useless,
Yeah, yeah.
and you're unable to do anything, and then you just lose because you can't really adapt. So
Mm,
not being a one-trick pony is very important in these kind of games, and
right.
it's been like that ever since the beginning of Overwatch. It's been like that since Rivals. You want to be adaptable. You never know when your character's going to get nerfed. You never know when your character's going to get banned. You never know when your character's going to get picked.
Yeah.
Um, you always got to be able to adapt as much as possible. And if the climb, I will say, may be slower.
Mm-hmm.
Like if you're a one trick pony and that character's broken, or you're really good with that one character, you
Yeah.
may climb really fast, but there will be a hard wall that you will hit in the future.
Mm-hmm.
Be it if you start getting target banned,
Mm-hmm.
or if that character gets nerfed, then you're just gonna fall. And you're like, okay, well, what was the point of all that?
Yeah, yeah.
But you want to be able to fall back on an assortment of characters and be know that you are going to completely just like hold your own with those characters, which is why I respect the grind of like making new accounts and like learning how to play new characters, because it can be very hard.
Mm-hmm.
You can't learn shit, and I'm gonna say it, you can't learn shit in quick play.
Yeah,
like
agreed.
like what
100. I'm 1,000,000% agree.
Yeah, you don't learn shit in quick play. You have to learn it in a competitive scenario, which unfortunately, like, is kind of why like a lot of smurfing happens, because like you there's no way to like, if you want to learn a character on your main, you're just going to be thrusted in against some of the hardest, like your peak on a character you do not know.
Yeah.
How are you supposed to learn like that? You can't. You got to like
Right,
make a
right.
new account and start all over again, and like just see how far you can go with that and learn the best you can.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of smurfing I can understand. I can go with like, you want to learn new characters, you want to be adaptable, you want to be able to play them at your peak,
Mhm.
then that's kind of what you got to do.
This is really, really informative, by the way.
Mm,
Especially like when I think back to when I was, nowhere near the level I'm at right now after, years of suffering and playing multiple games and all that stuff. When we first met through Overwatch, I will never forget that feeling of like, man, what do I need to do to get to
mm,
this point that Whiskey is at, Dusty is at, and then
yeah.
I'd met you, and I'm like, wow, like what do I need to do, And I think it's really, really awesome to hear you explain or break these things down because it's very, very reminiscent with Rivals being the center focus now of this genre of game that a lot of people are probably going through that same struggle again, where they're like, man, I stopped playing Overwatch because of X, Y, and Z thing. Now Rivals is here. Now I'm addicted to Rivals. And then, damn,
Hmm.
why am I hitting this wall again, right? I
Yeah.
think it's really, really cool to hear you break this down. I think I would
Yeah.
hope that, others heed to your teachings because
Mm,
um it's all valid. You can only get so much out of quick play. One tricking is doable, like you said, but here's the real thing is that, yeah, you're gonna get target banned in a game like Rivals, and
oh yeah, you
you know
will. Like, especially now. And there's also the given, which is I think everyone knows, is just watching streamers
Yeah.
who play those characters. I think that's kind of a given advice, though. I think a lot of people just like will naturally like see a streamer main the character they really like or a character they really want to learn,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
they you just pay attention to what they do.
Yeah.
It's simple as that. If that's how you learn. It's also subjective in that way because people learn differently. I learn by doing, less watching. I learn by being hands-on with something and doing it for myself. So that's why I do the account thing like you do.
Yeah, yeah. No,
So
it shows. I mean, look, you just hit Celestial, right? And you're getting results. And I think that despite how tilting or frustrating it could be to hit those obstacles like we are with like randoms and all that stuff, ultimately
mhm.
it's all the mental approach to what you're
Oh,
describing. And I'm happy to
100%.
hear that. Um so this is actually why I want to ask chat the question of what their main current game is, and this is more of to gauge the question for you or gear the question towards you, Skoit, but also to
Mhm.
kind of answer in a as honest of a answer as possible. So I'm gonna read some of the games that chat mentioned, and then I'm gonna propose a question to you. So we have Fortnite, we have
Mhm.
Apex, Josie Minesweeper, we have Rainbow
Oh,
Six Siege, Quake, Quake Live specifically, Destiny 2. So quite a bit of Fortnite actually.
yeah.
Rivals, and then Rivals of Aether fighting game. So thank you first of all, everyone in chat who provide the game that you guys play. The reason why I want to ask is because my question to you, and this is more of a delve into how you overcome the learning obstacles of getting into a new game, but also a way of, if you are experienced in that game, like what is a piece of advice you would give to someone who has never played any of these games or is just, kind of hitting some sort of wall or barrier. You don't have to say all the games in particular, but like from all the games I just mentioned or read off, like what are the ones that stood out to you and like how you could like instill advice in that game.
Well, for one, I think that fear hinders a lot of learning and anxiety. And honestly, like, I would say just play. Like, if you do not, if you're afraid of hitting the competitive like button to like and just do it, just hit
Mm,
play it, do it. Get that fear out of your system
yeah.
because fear is a wall in its own right.
Yeah.
And if you have a lot of anxiety about playing competitive, like that's honestly how I got out of my fear because I was also a very scared player for a bit.
Mm,
I was getting scared and like playing in very high rank lobbies, playing in very high rank like scrims, like all that. But
mm,
when I just started doing it like on my own, like by myself, kind of developing the skills on my own,
mm,
I suddenly lost all like that fear. And now every time I hit play, it's just another game. Like I'm ready to go,
yeah.
no fear, and I feel like I do so much better. And it's just work that anxiety out of your system to the best of your ability
I
because
love
that's all
hearing
that
you say
matters.
this so much. It shows in your gameplay. Every time I've ever played with you, whether it wasn't competitive or even just like nowadays, the thing I absolutely admire about your gameplay is you're very very ruthless and you're also very fearless, and it's an admirable trait, right? Like
Mhm.
you definitely do not for any way at all have you ever expressed any sort of hesitation other than like maybe lack of game sense or like a
Mhm.
lack of, I'm sorry, not game sense, a lack of experience or knowledge in that game, right?
Yeah.
And that's a completely different thing. I feel like,
Mhm.
that as your hindrance is a very very understandable factor because regardless of you hitting some sort of wall where you're playing against a very very well experienced player and you're like, oh well, I don't know how to combat that thing, but I'm just gonna like rely on my aim or my decision making. That's why you shine. That's where you shine, as a matter of
Yeah.
fact. And I'm glad to hear you elaborate on that because it's, I don't want to say it's like not a secret science because there's definitely a science to how you train yourself to approach any and every game with this mental,
Mhm.
but it definitely takes a lot of getting knocked down, getting right back on your feet again, saying, okay, what could I have done differently? What could I have done better,
Oh
right?
yeah,
And
exactly.
you said yourself that you're just like, well, time to go into the next, hit play again, like go into the
Hit
next
play
match,
again. Just keep
or
going.
yeah, and
Don't get discouraged.
do not get discouraged. Like 100% that,
It's all a
100%.
learning process. You can't control your teammates. It's just you got to know what to do. And I'd also actually loops back to like the flanking question and stuff like that.
Mhm.
Fear is what kind of prevents people from making those plays,
Yep.
making standout plays that are smart. And that is a very also other hard developed skill is making a play
Mhm.
in a game like a risky play and actually having a big payoff, because if you're too scared to do
Mm.
that, then you will never make like any kind of like risky play that could actually ultimately wind up winning the game. Like sometimes I will just push through a smoke in Valorant if I think the timing is right
Like you're
and it
just doing in
pays
the
off.
clip right here.
Yeah, oh shit.
Yeah.
But yeah, the timing is right. Like if you feel the timing is right, sometimes you need to have no hesitation and just go with it,
Yeah. Yeah.
because hesitation is also a big holdback, a big drawback to learning. Because like one of the things that I remember from that I learned personally from our time on the Apex team
Mhm.
was hesitation is bad all the time. Hesitation
Yes.
is just bad. If you make a call, you should stand with it as a team,
Mhm.
because your teammate may have seen something that you didn't see.
Yeah.
So if you hesitate, that could cost the game and not the play itself.
Right. Right.
So like your teammate makes a call, unless there's an obvious thing like, oh, there's a literal person with a Kraber waiting to shoot you in the head if you go through that way, then if you just follow it, you go through it.
Yeah.
Because if you don't, then like you lose synergy. People kind of like go off on their own, and then it's a big mess. You know.
Yeah, no, so this actually ties into a little bit more of a segue into how you're breaking all this down right now.
Hmm.
I'm actually gonna read Coda's message in chat, in that they'd love to hear more about team dynamics and finding your groove with the people you play with. Right, and I feel like that's a pretty good segue into
Yeah.
like kind of what you're talking about, right? Where like sometimes you just see that play opportunity, you're like, I don't care, I'm gonna go for it,
I don't care. I'm
or
doing
at
it.
least you
Yep.
kind of accept the repercussions of like what could happen, what's at stake. And I feel like that's
Hmm.
like very much a big part of adapting to a team, especially
Oh
since
yeah,
FPS is
100%.
full of randoms, right? Like you're always gonna play with
Yeah.
randoms no matter what. So yeah, like how do
It's
you
always
combat that, or like what's your approach to that?
to like okay, so like with just randoms overall,
Yeah, I
is
guess
is
like
that
yeah, just
like
finding not necessarily even just randoms, but like just team dynamics, right? It could be with
team
randoms.
dynamics? Yeah.
It could be with like, let's say I hit you up. I'm like, oh, do you want to play with like two of my friendos that you've like never played with
Hmm.
before? We're gonna play some like some ranked or whatever, or like, oh, do you want to run it down on like Fortnite? We're gonna do some like W King. Like, what
Yeah.
helps you find or understand that team dynamic to get in the groove?
Team dynamic. Okay. Yeah. That's a good question, because that can be very hard, honestly. Kind of like being adapt. That's another thing about just being adaptable. If you're an adaptable person, you're gonna fit more with any kind of team dynamic,
Yeah,
any kind of people you play with, and you're gonna have an easier time finding people to play with because you are adaptable. Because that's what people want.
yeah, yeah.
And sometimes though, thing that a lot of people have to learn is sometimes the vibe ain't right, and
Mm,
sometimes people don't work out, and that's fine. It's not saying that someone's bad
mm,
or someone's like sometimes the team just doesn't vibe right, and you gotta find a different team or a different group of people to queue with. If that is like if you're trying to like really make like super high ranks and
mm,
things just aren't working out, you just gotta
yeah,
keep like go again, find a different queue, but don't take it personally.
yeah.
And yeah, but like just being as adaptable as possible with like a team dynamic is very important.
I love hearing you say that too. I feel like this is a very sensitive subject for a lot of players, because
Yeah.
one thing I can at least like throw my own personal experience into that ties into to yours is, so for those in chat who are like maybe newer to the community or even Squid's community over the last like year or so. or very very recently, regards of time. Um, Once upon a time, Skoit and I did play Apex competitively together, and not only did we play Apex competitively together, but we also were rank grinding while we were all signed to an org together. And the reason why I bring all this up is because I mentioned this a little bit earlier, and I'm going to touch on it more now. Is that we were a very very young team, and I say young not by age, but young as in our experience as a team together. We lacked competitive synergy. And it's not to say it was any one particular player. I could confidently say myself lacked experience in this competitive, genre. And, and it definitely showed. I had a lot of, flaws, a lot of errors, and um, a lot of times where I didn't make the right play and I didn't do the right thing and I didn't make the right call. And the reason why I bring it all up is because there were definitely times where there was some clashing. There was some disagreeing. And, the one thing I always admired about Skoit as a teammate was Skoit was very, very much the in-betweener. Very, very, very kind of silent, would give a little input, wouldn't really take sides, ever. And would just kind of like give a little input whenever they needed to. And I know that some could argue, be like, oh, well, why? But that means that they're just avoiding the subject, and it's not necessarily the case at all. It's more of that sometimes as an observer or an in-betweener of like a lot of conflict that can happen in a team, sometimes being the naysayer and a listener to both sides can also be very very beneficial. And a lot of the time when you are playing with friends or you're playing with randoms or whatever, um obviously conflict is very very common in the FPS space. And sometimes when it's, I'm gonna hone in on this with like, friends or longtime friendos, it's a lot more difficult to tell or express any frustration or like, oh, this play could have been this way or that way or whatever, right? But there's a very very delicate way to balance it, and I feel like the way that you're describing right now is very very crucial. I feel like as long as some are expressing that like, I'm coming from a good place, or like, you're kind of like not necessarily pointing at the like the you and more of like the we as a team, etc.,
Yeah.
is so so crucial to diffusing a lot of like tension, right?
Mhm.
But it's always been like an admirable trait that I've loved about you, is that you are very non-confrontational and you are very much like, no, I just want to win as a team. I want us to win. And it's
Yeah.
felt, but um
Of course. Yeah. It's very important to like not add fuel to the fire
yeah,
and
yeah.
try to keep, the most level head possible. And 'cause, egos will clash when you're at a level like that. Egos will clash at all times, and
Yeah.
I've seen it many times. And sometimes you just gotta let it run its course, and then try to lock in and go again. But yeah, I just think that is very important to keep a level head in all scenarios. And a lot of, despite some of the Apex pros I've seen, definitely seeming like they don't. It's just their way of kind of showing their passion. And they people know how to like, people know how to work around it. And I've
Yeah.
seen I've seen how freak out a lot on people, and
Yup.
that's totally like people understand that it's just a place of passion and it's not a personal attack.
Yeah. It's all gray area, you know.
Yeah,
The
exactly.
gray area is always going to be a, depending on the person you're talking to, some be like, well, I mean, they're in the right there, and then other people
Yeah.
are gonna be like, nope, they were in the wrong. Just
No. Yeah.
how it
Exactly.
be.
Yep.
Um,
Exactly.
so believe it or not, we are surprisingly a little over an hour and a half. I think we're starting to get closer to that 2 hour mark now for the
Oh,
podcast.
dang.
So I'm actually gonna get closer to tying things up, but
Okay.
the last few things, and I'd love to get more of your involvement on this. Last things I want to like, kind of close this podcast out with
Mhm.
is, what is, if you were to give your sort of insights into what you want to see out of the FPS community within furry. What is a desire? What is a burning, passionate thing that you want to see the community continue to expand on, or what you feel is lacking of?
I think that I want to see more like of a unification of like all furry like FPS players. I think that I want us to be better
Yeah,
than the typical FPS gamer like agenda. I want us to be more like less ego-y with especially with each other.
yeah, yeah.
And be kinder to be a kinder community
Mm.
and really kind of like show love and support for the other furry gamers, especially the ones who are very unapologetically furry.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah.
I'm like they're already going through it. Trust me. I know what it's like. I played Counter Strike, and there's so many instances. Like there was a clip you saw with me clutching. That team is the
Yeah.
biggest shit talkers on the planet. That one
Oh,
v four
really?
CS clutch. Yeah, that was like I think an intermediate or above, and
Really?
it was the 1v4 clutch against them. They were shit talking us the whole time,
Yeah,
and then
yeah.
the fact that I'm like, yeah, we get it all the time. So
It's
that
just
is the biggest
another
like.
day in, the park, right?
Yeah, so definitely, I want to see furry gamers, furry FPS players, find each other, support each other a lot more.
Yeah.
Um, you know, I just that's all I want to see is
Hell yeah.
just like a more unified FPS section of the fandom,
Yeah.
and honestly, that's all I can really say on it.
No, that's very, very felt. That makes two of us, right? Like we are
Mm.
like I this being, like hopefully the beginning of something bigger, for the community.
Oh yeah,
Um,
100%.
very much looking forward to seeing like more players thrive and get the recognition they deserve, and you as well, you're a big part of that too. Um, I am very, very grateful to be able to have this open conversation with you, with everyone else in chat, because um like I was saying at the beginning of the podcast, you are one of the many, in my opinion, very, very slept on, insanely talented players in the community who I don't think, when I this is gonna be a little bit more of a self insert, but
Mhm.
whenever, chat or, my other platforms are giving positive reinforcement of like, wow, you're so cracked, or like, wow, they're just like complimenting me and all that stuff. The one thing that I wish was easy to express is who and where I came from. Like who like inspired me, who really, really pushed
Mhm.
me. And a big focus of this podcast is exactly that, Like you are a big inspiration to me, not just like mechanically wanting to improve, but also mentally, because you have such a good mental and such a good focus on like the approach to your games. And it's very, very admirable, and it also falls under the nature of like, yeah, this stuff isn't a you're built different, you just kind of, it's things that you kind of have to teach yourself, and you have to not give up, and so
I agree.
I'm very, very happy to be able to hear that from you, and to get more of your insight on like how you've climbed, like how you've grinded, like what you've had to overcome and so forth. And this is gonna be one of the many more podcasts and things to come for this community, the furry FPS community. But we're just getting started, right? So
Of course.
um I will actually like present two more things before we wrap things up.
Yeah,
Um
sure.
and that's so from all of this being said, would you what is one, or not one, I'm gonna try to like generalize it a little bit more. Who
Okay.
is within furry um a slept on player, and why is it that you look up to them or
Mm.
respect or appreciate who they are? That comes to mind.
Okay.
It's more of
Well,
like a we're just giving recognition here,
yeah, of course. I'm actually my brain's kind of going through a few furry gamers.
Mhm.
I think that oh fuck. Let me try. I'm trying to remember. my brain on some names that I watch.
No, it's all good. I know
Uh,
it's a pretty like heavy question too, because obviously we know so many, and it's like not wanting to like step on toes, hurt feelings, or anything like that. Like I
oh
get
yeah,
it, I get it.
I think Aiden Full is a very talented gamer.
Hell yeah, love
I
Aiden.
really I watch Aiden play Apex despite how absolutely fucking shambles that game is, and they are still very very cracked, and I respect him for that.
Yeah,
And definitely Aiden, he's very 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 slept on.
I agree.
Um, and let me think, who else?
Yeah, Aiden. While
Mm,
you're like thinking that, one thing I will definitely say, sorry if I interrupt your train of thought, is that what I absolutely admire about Aiden
mhm.
is that they not only are very very cracked mechanically, but they also are they have such a chill, calm mental,
Oh
and their
yeah,
voice is very very soothing to listen to, especially in games where like your adrenaline's gonna be pumping, and there's gonna be a lot of like what the fuck moments, and like yeah,
yeah,
they have their moments of like you're like what the or like what's happening,
yeah.
but like that's natural. But like all in all, I definitely think that they are like I agree within furry FPS they are very much slept on. I agree.
I completely agree. Yeah. I love Aiden's play style, and Aiden does other games, Aiden's very good at them as well.
Yeah.
This Apex is the passion. I understand that. Um, but yeah, Aiden's great, and God, there's so many in my head. It's like when you think of so many, it's hard to like actually like pick them out.
No, I get it. I'm a
Do
very
you know
bad on the
who?
spot player or a person.
Do you know who Lucky Cown? How do I say his name? Lucky is, I
Lucky.
think his name is Lucky Cown. Let me
I
see. Let me.
mean like if I don't know who they are right now, this is gonna be my moment to like looking them up because
All right. Here,
this is a
I'll
part
DM because
of
I
the
don't want
whole
to butcher
thing.
their name, but they've joined my chat a few times. We've chatted. I think they're very talented. They've gotten a lot of really, really high ranks in a lot of FPS games, and I
Hmm.
completely respect that as well.
Hell yeah, that's awesome. Yeah,
They're an awesome gamer.
I am so happy to be able to hear not just from you, but even like I'm just like reading chat right now, and like obviously you guys have a lot of other inspirations and those
Hmm.
that have pushed you to better yourself in one way or another, whether it be playing with them, whether it be watching their content, dissecting their gameplay or their personality traits, within the games or just in general. Like, it's kind of the big, passion I have for FPS gaming and why I think doing a podcast like this is fun is outside of just like, oh, we're running around, we're pew pewing and, just like owning dudes, on the daily. Like there's so much more underneath the surface to a lot of these games that we're playing, when you start climbing to a certain level. Or hell, even if you're playing it casually. The
Yeah,
the beauty of
exactly.
FPS gaming is you don't have to be the best of the best. You don't have to prove to anyone that, you are this good for X, Y, and Z reason, this, that, and that. Because at the end of the day, it's all about having fun. And it's just the way that we all have fun is expressed differently, whether it be you playing ranked, whether you be playing with the friends after a long, hard day of work, or school or whatever. It's just know that, the furry FPS community is very much here. It's a lot
Hmm.
bigger than I think the fandom or even the streaming content space give. And I'm just excited to see it continue to expand as time goes on. And having you be the first guest on this podcast has been an absolute pleasure. And
Of
I've
course.
loved every single second, every moment of us being able to talk more casually when we're not dealing with the suffrage of randoms and BS in game.
Yeah, of course. Oh,
But
there's two more I would like to mention that
yeah,
you
yeah, no,
probably won't
fire away at
appreciate.
them, fire away at them.
Blue Wolf Sparky,
Blue Wolf Sparky, yeah, yeah,
very good at all the games they pick up. Really
yeah.
good at Valorant. Really good at a Fortnite.
They're from Asia,
Really good
right?
at Rivals. Yep, yeah, they
Yeah,
are.
yeah. No, they're fucking
And
phenomenal.
I would also say Josie because Josie's been very good
Hell yeah.
on the M and K
Yup.
lately. I respect the grind.
Dang, goated on the sticks, but goated on the arm. What?
Dang.
I don't know
Hell
on the
yeah.
wrist.
Go on the wrist. I think everyone thought of a different word,
Yeah.
and I think we all know what that word is.
Uh, I don't know.
The
I don't know
stick
what we're
is
talking
going
about.
on the. Oh my god. But yeah,
uh,
hella good. All of them are hella good. And there's so many more I'd like to shout out, but there's just too many in my head to say. So
well, hey, here's the exciting thing about this podcast. You know, with this being episode 1, there's gonna be plenty of more. Very much looking forward to doing these, weekly. That's kind of the goal. But one closing thing, because we're gonna actually wrap things up here. And I also don't want to keep you for the rest of the evening. But the one last thing I'll definitely say is again, thank you for taking the time to hang out with us tonight. Thank you for taking the time to answer from the heart, share your experiences, give some insight into how you've become the crack gamer that you are. And you're always growing and improving in your own ways. And I hope that the next time that we have you on here, we'll answer even more stuff. We'll go even deeper. We'll hit on more topics and subjects that I think others would love to see you expand on, and just in general, like that others are want to learn more about. I think you have a lot of not just experience, but you hold so many valuable insights on just your experience alone, and then just like your beaming personality. So I think you're a very, very good advocate and person for others to look up to, and it's been an absolute pleasure having you on here.
well, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. I love what you're doing. I
Thank you.
respect the hell out of you.
Same,
And
same.
I can't wait to see anyone else you bring on here. I'll be watching.
Hell yeah, dude. Hell yeah. Well, before we hop on out of here, how can others watch you? Where can others find you on your existence on the internet? Where are your places? Drop the
Well, my
socials, drop
place
the channels.
on here is just Skoit. Easy enough. Uh, Blue Sky use it more than Twitter now. So over on my Twitter, it's just Skoit.tfcorp.
I love. Wait,
Yeah, and that's
is that really your handle?
yeah. If you look at my handle on Blue Sky, it's tfcorp.net.
What? Wait, I know I follow you. I had no idea you changed it to that. I fucking love
Yeah,
it.
Blue figured out how that you could just like spend like a dollar or two to change your handle, the handle follow up, so it's not just Blue Sky. So we went with TF Corp.
Oh, I'm gonna need to do that. That's the play right
Yeah,
there.
I wonder if we can invite you. I think we can invite you.
Well, I'll definitely make sure to to share your handles and the other areas to find you.
Of course.
And then also I dropped your Twitch here. What's your like stance or like your future with like streaming, gaming, sharing your POVs, VODs, all that stuff? Like, do you have any plans?
More consistent streaming because I was gonna do that, and then I got hit with one of the worst sicknesses I've had in a long time. Like literally the
No,
week after I got
rip.
back to streaming, yeah, I was like, "All right, guys, I'm here. I'm back for real. Being here every week, gone for 2 weeks. Oh,
Oh, dude. Well, you
I was
sound
so sick.
way better than I
Yeah,
think you're probably feeling. So, like, at least
starting
know
up
that your voice
next.
isn't like suffering.
Yeah, yeah, that's good. That is a good thing. I would not have been able to do this if my voice was like it was earlier.
Do you have a schedule for streaming just for peeps in chat that want to ever catch you?
I want to do Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, and then Friday. I want to do a casual game if I can.
Hell yeah. Well, you heard it here first. Skoit, thank you so much, both as a friend, both as, I don't even know how, like, I don't want to say peer. Peer's kind of weird, but like, then again, this is the whole dynamic is how, yeah, we're friendos and we can just like hop on,
Yeah,
vibe game. But honestly, as a friend and always willing to help in the content space, I
yeah.
very much appreciate your help as a mod, as someone who I can grind with, and just getting all your perspective and insight on everything. You're a phenomenal gamer, and you are a very, very good person and bred for a reason. So thank you so much for joining us for episode 1.
Yeah, of course. I appreciate you for having me, and then I'll be back again if you ever need me.
Hell
So
yeah. And also,
let me know.
fellow TF Trash Monster. Well,
Yeah,
we'll leave that one in the
oh,
video.
yeah, of course. We had to mention it sometime. All right.
All
Yeah,
right,
thank you so much again for
Skoito.
having me. It was great. I'm glad we could honestly learn a lot about
Yup,
me, and I could learn a little bit about you too in the process. So thank you
same.
so much. It was a blast, and I can't wait to see who else you bring on here.
Same here. Same here. I'm super excited. First of many, dude.
Yeah, of course.
All right, Skoito, you have a good rest of your evening. Or, I mean, I don't know if we end up like jumping in some games later. I'm totally down. So,
Hey, I mean, if you're gonna try Frag Punk, do you know if you're gonna try Frag Punk out anymore, or are you
ooh.
thinking about like Marvel or Fortnite?
Honestly, I'm conflicted because all three of those games I kind of equally love right now. So,
Yeah,
I will.
dude, it's
I'll
like
let you
we're
know,
eating
dude.
good. We're eating up. We're eating good.
Yeah, same here, dude. Yeah, I'll let you know. I'll just message you and then be like, yo, I'm
All right,
jumping on this game. You want to join up?
sounds good.
All right, catch you later, Skoito. Thank you so much again. Chat, say
All
bye to
right, see you
Skoit.
later. Bye, everyone. Thanks for the questions. I like that. I like answering them.
Hell yeah. Yeah, thank you, chat, again for that, too.